Hello, everybody. This is Rural Lions UK. I am just setting up here still, and we are waiting for Ant. So bear with us while we get set. I am aware that there is another game happening at the moment. We are also watching that too. So, so bear with us while I set up. I'm still watching the last minute in my second watch through of the game to make my notes. So we will be with you in just a sec. Steve, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad.
Good.
That was a very good Thanksgiving game to watch. In fact, it was a good three games, actually.
I must admit, I only got to the Lions game so far. I know we have Harley in our Discord chat, who's a Pats fan, lamenting the loss that they had too. How was that game?
I mean, Justin Jefferson was immense. Like, he's just absolutely ripping at the league at the moment. Um, Cousins didn't Cousins. um, the Vikings defense was a lot better than it had been the previous week.
Right.
The Pats just need a spark. They just need a bit of a spark on offense because their defense is pretty solid. But yeah,
But
it was tight most of the way through.
shame that the Vikings got it done. I'm convinced that they're frauds. I still am. I think they're no better than we are, really. I just don't see it.
Well, I think Justin Jefferson is the difference because he was just dominant for so much of the game and just made several absolutely massive catches. And he just distracts the defense, which means that Thielen and Osborne and Cook, Hawkinson made a couple of decent catches. He just takes some of the focus away. And as good as St. Brown's been, he probably doesn't consistently demand double coverage.
Apologies as I'm listening to you and watching these last few seconds.
But yeah, I think in terms of are the Vikings forwards, I think they'll do exactly what the 13-3 Packers for the last two seasons will do. They'll come and stuck at the first half decent team that they meet. Um, I can't see the Vikings beating the 49ers. I can't see them beating the Eagles. So it just depends on the seeding and I guess in terms of how far they get. Because if they get I think they could probably beat the Cowboys.
You think they could be the
Um,
Cowboys? Really?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
Oh,
so. Um, I think they're probably like the third or fourth best team in the NFC. Like I said, I'd probably put the 49ers and the Eagles ahead of them. Um, yeah, I mean, and again, it just depends. If you can really get in Cousins' face, you're always going to have a chance against Minnesota. But their defense, their O line hasn't been quite as bad as it's been in previous seasons.
right, that is the end of my notes for the game. I don't have talking points really, so we'll have to think of them as we go. Right, let's get rid of that because the last play is inconsequential. Ant said that he was. Oh, he's eating a sandwich. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Um,
He didn't say how big the sandwich was going to be.
that's true. I mean, it's like saying that you're drinking some wine. Is it the glass that's a whole bottle, or is it just one? Is it a small one? Who knows? I am watching. Oh, the bloody video's gone on Michigan and Ohio State. Has it? Video removed for violating terms of service. You are kidding me. Ah, no.
Why is it not on BT or Sky? It's just ridiculous.
So Michigan have been on BT a lot this year. So I don't know why they're not on for this one. That video's been removed as well, has it?
I think that they're showing on BT. They're showing Georgia versus Georgia State.
Like, why? No one
I've
cares
no
about that
idea.
game. I've got another link. I'll send it through. There it is. That seems to work at the moment. I mean, it'll get cancelled again, but who cares? Okay, Lions had most EPA per play in this most recent game. on 11 personnel, and they ran 62% of the snaps on 11 personnel. 21 personnel, they just ran 5 snaps of 21 personnel. That absolutely wrecked the Giants. And they had plus 5 snaps of it against the Bills, who run a very similar style of play on the offense and defense. Frustrating. And also in 11 personnel, Swift took the most snaps. In fact, Swift was only 6 snaps behind Williams in general. I don't like it. Okay. Actually, I didn't see what Diggs' PFF score was, because I have to assume it was trash. 59.9? I guess that's probably one of the worst games of his career. Is there anything you...
I was going to ask, is Ryan safely back in the country?
He's safely back in the country. He said he hasn't yet watched the game because he was in the air or he was at Thanksgiving parade or something. I'm not really sure. But he's safely back.
I've just got the Michigan Ohio link working.
Yeah, hey. Yeah, Harley's saying she's very disappointed with the Pats Minnesota game. I am as well. I think that they're two very similarly matched teams in terms of quality of players. And in terms of coaching and players, I guess I should say. Look who's here. The ill but still surviving, alive and kicking, Anthony Fitzpatrick.
I'm still ill, but I'm getting there.
Well, there's no hood, so.
What's your ailment, Ant?
I've had a winter bug mixed in with some really bad headaches. So they've both just kind of kicked my ass at once, but chest pains have gone and the headaches are mostly gone. I've just got a bit of a cough at the minute, so.
Yeah, you'll hear it a few times on the stream, I'm sure, Steve. It's always the way. We don't have a name for the show.
I apologise, but I'm busy watching college football, so.
Yes, we all are. We definitely all are. Don't worry about that. We need a name for the show, though, boys. Come on. I've drawn a blank. I suck. I know that, but it's JMO time. I don't know.
You could have told me earlier.
Sorry. Problem solved. I don't know. That sucks. But something about James Houston. No.
The commentator said at one point, Buffalo, we have a Houston problem, which I thought was quite funny.
We go with that, Ant?
Yeah, whatever.
The most nonchalant I've heard you for a while.
Yeah, this game is far too interesting, so.
I know how you feel. Who knew that JJ McCarthy had an arm? Steve, he's thrown 3 beautiful touchdowns in this game. Like, really nice balls. I mean, 2 of them were pretty gimmies, but they were a long way down the field, and he still made them.
I don't get why Wolverines fans hate on him.
On JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, he's exact. You know, me, I don't really like Michigan, and I'll use any excuse to have a go at them. But in JJ's case, it's the first time I've really watched him in a full game. So it's the first time they've played out nearly remotely competitive this year. But for the guy he plays in a run-heavy team. He's not really been asked to pass the ball a whole lot. And this is really the first game, I reckon, probably in his career that he's sort of been told, you've probably got to go out and win it for us because we can't run the ball for, toffee today. And he's making the throws. He's got the arm strength. You can quite clearly see he's got all the tools required. But he's making some simple mistakes. But again, because he doesn't throw that often, because the game's never on him and he's been never in pressure situations, and it's his first year being a starter. That's exactly what you would expect from a first year guy. He ain't going to be perfect all the time. Of course, he's going to airmail some. He's in a hostile environment, so he would be exactly where I'd expect to see him. And I think he's probably doing even better than I'd expect of him. I say those deep balls, I say the gimmies, but it's still hard to throw it 50, 60 yards the way he has been. I think he's looked damn good, considering.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think he's looked great. I mean,
He didn't
first
start
time.
till week 3. People don't forget he was in a quarterback battle at the start of this year. He's come in as a running quarterback and on trick plays and stuff in previous years. So he's not even 10 games into his career yet as a starter. And he looks pretty good. Like I say, a lot of better quarterbacks will go to the shoe and buckle under pressure. But he's looked damn good.
I mean, not only that, this is the first time he's faced Ohio State in Ohio State with the season on the line. Because if Michigan lose, apart from a bowl game, it's season over. Like, they don't get to the playoffs, they don't go to the championship game. Ohio State still might get there, but Michigan definitely won't.
Oh no,
So this is
losers
season
out.
on the line.
Losers out.
It's
They've both played scrub ass schedules. Whoever loses is out. They don't have the resume to get in with a loss. Unless everybody else loses as well, but that ain't gonna happen.
I agree.
But I've been impressed. Much like say at the minute, tiny little bit smug because I said that Ohio State wouldn't be able to deal with Michigan's grit. They might be the more talented team. The offense looks better, but they can't break them down.
All of the streams have just been shut down.
Oh, they'll be right back up again. They'll be right back up. They come very quickly and they go very quickly.
I've got another one I've just posted in the chat. Right, shall we do this? And Steve, you ready to go? Yep.
Yeah, all good.
All right, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 161. Buffalo, we have a Houston problem. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Stephen Collins. How are you doing, boys?
All good. It's not a victory pod, but cast your mind back 2 years ago, it feels like a big win from where we were then. As I'm sure you remember that Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm still ill, but a lot closer to being better than I was last time. So yeah, it's not bad. I'm watching a really, really good slate of rivalry games in college football week. So I'm enjoying myself. A lot happier than I was after the end of the Bills game.
Yes, you were livid. We are talking Bills at Lions on Thanksgiving just a couple of days ago. Just to say, Ohio State Michigan is playing as we are on right now, so I'm not expecting the live chat to have a huge amount of impact on this game because there's a certain other game going on right now, but we shall see. Just to get through all of the preamble as we normally do, don't forget our Discord channel. It's a really, really lovely community of people. Had a few more join over the week. It's active all the way through the week on game day, and then ahead looking at the draft, it will be even bigger. So come and join us there. College Football Podcast. We were on it last Wednesday, me, Ant, and Ash, and it was a really good show. We were talking about the run-up to this week, what could happen with the playoffs and the conference championships, and deputised for Ryan with the FCS playoffs. Lots of good stuff in there, so do go and check that out. Please don't forget to like the show and sub to the podcast. Give us a review if you can. Comment on the video down below. Any of that good stuff will definitely help us with that stuff. And do download the Lions Nation Unite app. That's from lionsnationunite.com. It's owned by Herman Moore. It's his project to bring the best in YouTube content creators for the Lions together. And you can find all the best guys there. Dosa Dion, Micro Mike, so that's Lions Talk by Chat Sports. Also, Detroit Lions on the Prowl, as well as ourselves. And we are a Twitch affiliate. If you've got Amazon Prime and you're not using your Twitch Prime sub, everyone gets one for free if you're a Prime subscriber. And if you can throw it our way, doesn't cost you a penny, but it just takes some money from Amazon, puts it in our pocket. So much appreciated. Let's crack on with just a tiny bit of news before we go into the game. Jameson Williams, he was running routes in pre-game, in the Buffalo game, and to be honest, he could have played. Like, right? That's how close he is he basically looked fine. And maybe the only thing holding him back is playbook knowledge, boys?
No, he's barely played. He's barely, he's not played a game since like January. They'll just be taking care with him. He's only just been activated. Just give him some more time just to get up to game speed, get into sync with his teammates, and he's ready to go. But there's no need to do it too early.
I mean, for me,
Yeah,
I could just see it happening in a week. Sorry, Steve.
I mean, there's a massive difference between running routes for no contact and, having people jam you at the line of scrimmage, taking hits. We need to give him another couple of weeks, I think.
Fair enough. And Jerry Jacobs is in concussion protocol. That was confirmed post-game. Obviously, because we play on Thursday and then we're not now playing until next Sunday, hopeful that he can get back in time for that. That happened right at the start of the fourth quarter. Did coincide with the Lions' capitulation at the end. I'm not sure it was directly related, but he's such a physical player and a trend setter on that defense. It was really a shame to see him go out, and we desperately need him back on the team soon, so hopefully he's fit and well shortly. Let's get on with the game, shall we? Buffalo 28, Lions 25 in a last-second field goal, which was absolutely devastating. Elevations for this game, the effective edge James Houston, draft pick who was actually cut before we got to 53, was re-signed to the practice squad, and in his first NFL snaps he made a big impact. And the backup centre Ross Pierschbacher, he came in because of several injuries in our offensive line, including Evan Brown, our starting right guard, who obviously also is our backup centre. So Ross comes up. I don't think he played a snap. Inactives for this game, Jonah Jackson and Evan Brown, so our two starting guards from recent times. Josh Pascal and Charles Harris on the edge. Cornerback Jeff Okudah and defensive lineman Michael Brockers. The only one not through injury there is Brockers. Looking at the stats for this game, Allen had an up and down game, 24 of 42 for 253, 2 touchdowns and an interception, quarterback rating of 70.1 on the ground. Buffalo ran it very effectively between Allen and Singletary. Allen 10 for 78 and a tutty led the team, and Singletary 14 for 72 went at 5.1 yards per carry, which is exceptional really, but only 2 runs for James Cook and only 1 for Nyheim Hines. So they very much were going Singletary or Allen pretty much exclusively. Through the air, they were led by McKenzie, 6 on 10 for 96 and a touchdown. And Stephon Diggs came up big late, but had a terrible game, 8 for 15, 77 and a touchdown. On the Lions side of things on offense, Jared Goff with an efficient performance, 23 of 37, 240 and 2 touchdowns, quarterback rating 78.4. But the Lions were fairly anemic on the ground, 18 carries for Jamal Williams, 66 yards and a touchdown. That's about 3.5 yards a carry. DeAndre Swift, 5 carries for 19 yards. Justin Jackson managed to get himself back to 4 yards on 4 carries, but had a long of 11, which meant his other 3 carries went for -7. Part of that was the Lions really not putting him in good positions, especially with both backup guards, starting guards out. In the receiving game, only one man stood up really, but what a man. What a man. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 of 10 for 122 and a touchdown. He's having an exceptional start to his career. On the defense, big games on both sides of the ball for both teams. Jordan Poyer with 10 tackles, 8 of which solo. The Buffalo Bills actually had 7 tackles for a loss in this game, led by Ed Oliver, 2 tackles for a loss and a sack for him. But also Daquan Jones got a sack as well for the Lions. Anzalone led the team in tackles with 9, 7 of which were solo. 4 tackles for a loss for them in a good performance. Jerry Jacobs had one of them, Malcolm Rodriguez one, but Justin Houston was exceptional on his 2 sacks. And Benito Jones, I think, got his first sack as a Lion too. In terms of interceptions, Anzalone did pick Josh Allen off, which was very effective. And we had Khalif Raymond with an absolutely massive punt return, which we will get to shortly. Going into the game itself, let's just take a high-level view of it, boys, to start with. And I'll come to you because you were so hyped about it after the game. You were quite angry, I think, about how everything finished. How are you feeling about the game now?
Same. We fought really hard. We played really well. Happy with the application of the team, the way we played, the way we fought. We're one of the best teams going. Yeah, we shot ourselves in the foot at the end. Should have been able to win that game. Should have been able to see it out. And once again, the culmination of mistakes, plays made that have been made in the past, which have not been done, going back to the well when you shouldn't, which has just kind of undermined a really good performance, really. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I enjoyed the performance. I did, but I think we could have done better at the end. And just because they played well, I'm not going to let them off the hook for it. They need to get better, especially at the end of these game situations. But yeah, well played to Buffalo. They came up clutch at the end when they needed to. They're a good side. We know what they're capable of. But overall, I'm really happy with the Lions. The young players, they are really, really coming out of the shells now, and this team is finally starting to garner some respect around the league, which is what we want. So yeah, little bit of both as far as I'm concerned. Still,
Steve, how are you feeling on the game at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to feel disappointed because the Bills are, for me, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFL, and we were within a hair's breadth of beating them on Thanksgiving. And I remember the horror of the last Thanksgiving under the Patricia era, and just like we were just a trash franchise with zero pride, and it was just like an embarrassment. Whereas after that, I feel really proud of the team, really pleased with the kind of development. But as Anne said, just a couple of like really stupid things. For me, the whole game came down to 2 moments, which was the Goff third down misplaced pass when he'd got better options, and Jerry Jacobs getting a concussion and not being on the field for that last Buffalo drive. Because I think if Jerry Jacobs had been on the field, we would have won the game. So for me, those are kind of the 2 moments.
Yeah, right. Let's go through this and just see how we feel about it looking back. Because so much happened in this game. On a second look, I was just surprised at how much I don't remember. Like, people are... When I go through the sort of, not play-by-play, because I don't talk about every single play that happens, but the significant plays, I'm surprised by how much happens that I forget. Because it's so easy to think, oh, well, we shouldn't have gone the deep pass on 3rd and 1, and we maybe shouldn't have hit the field goal on 4th and 1. And that's like the takeaway from this game. That's what you remember. But that isn't the story of the game. And actually, as we go through it, I think we'll see that. So... Lions on offense to begin with, but a bad start for them. They go 3 and out. But the defense responds really quickly, actually. They force Buffalo 3 and out to start with. So no first downs in the opening possessions for either team. On the kick return, Raymond advances it a good 15 yards, but fumbles it. Lions very lucky to get back on that. So a potential, saving of a turning point there. And then on the next Lions drive... Lovely run by Jamal on 3rd and 1 to convert for the game's first down. Goff with a lovely play-action pass to Chark for a first up the middle. He was fairly inconsequential in the previous games, so it was good to see Chark get involved early. And then Goff did a play-action pass in the I formation, hit late in that pass, but seemed to get up from it well. Bills got away with a non-call there, because I think you could have had roughing, but never mind. You're not going to get that from Clete Blakeman with the Lions. Really nice Amon-Ra bounds slant on 3rd and 8 in the red zone. I mean, he just absolutely did his guy in the route running department. I mean, you can say what you want about Amon-Ra's speed, but his technical ability is absolutely exceptional. Run on 3rd down and 4, gains 3, and then on 4th and 1, a sneak conversion by Goff. He's done 2 and 2 now. They were actually, Buffalo were offside, so we converted anyway, and we did take that penalty. And then the very next play, Lions run it in for the first score of the game. Amazing play designed by Ben Johnson. So Nelson is in as the sixth man on the offensive line. He comes in motion from right to left. Once he sets, you then get the tight end in the formation, who's Brock Wright, also pulling to the left-hand side of the formation, and Jamal Williams basically walks in untouched. It's invention that I just don't really feel like I've seen before on an ongoing kind of play-by-play basis. Lions up 7-0 early, and just a couple of things here, boys, to stop. Firstly, that entire drive was efficient. It's what really I've come to expect from the Lions, at least early on in games when there's still a play script happening. We went 3 and out, but we also held them too. It seemed like everything had gone quite well to start with.
Yeah, I think the offense has been hit and miss sometimes, but you do feel like, at least in terms of the playbook, when we're maybe not in fourth quarter, sometimes maybe not in red zone, but when we're kind of like in quarters 1 to 3, and we're kind of on a kind of your average drive, it does certainly seem like we've got a decent selection of plays. We're not telegraphing exactly what we're doing as much as we were earlier in the season. And like Jamal's been brilliant. Like, I was pretty critical of Jamal after the first 2 or 3 games, but the guy's got some juice and he's really, really trying. And between a good performance from the offensive line, Williams making plays, I thought Swift was a lot less hit shy than he has been. And we kept the chains moving, so I'm pretty pleased with the offense for the majority of the game.
Yeah, we started strong. Defense started strong, at least anyhow, and that's kind of what you need when you're playing against the Bills. You need to be able to get them off the field, stop them putting points down on you. You need to keep the game realistically close to be able to keep yourself in it. So I was happy with what the defense did to start with. The offense was just bad to begin with, but then it sort of found its groove. But that's kind of what we have to expect with them now. I mean, a few of the early drives, especially in a few of the games recently, haven't been great. So, it is what it is at this point. But it was a good start. Was happy with it.
Let me put this to you with the run for Jamal for the touchdown. He ran that out of shotgun, and how many times have we seen the game script from the Lions on 1st and goal from the 1, where Goff's under centre, hands it off to the tailback, just runs into the centre and guard, hoping to punch it through. No gain, 2nd down and goal, same. 3rd down and goal, same. Should we go on 3rd and 4th? Sure. Should we do the same? Yeah, why not? And, sometimes you'll get in doing that just because of sheer luck. And probably you're not going to fumble the ball in that situation. It's a safe play. But running the ball out of shotgun with men pulling in that situation is just something that I've not seen us do very often. And it's like, oh, we might have someone with brains here. Like, it was just heartening.
I think that's a bit unfair, Matt, because quite often on 2nd down we throw an incomplete pass.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. Right, let's crack on with the rest of this. Amazing play by Malcolm Rodriguez on the next set. So, screen pass set up to James Cook is kind of all on his own, and Rodriguez just diagnoses it early, and he actually almost gets there too soon. Like, he's contacting Cook just about as he's about to touch the ball. And to be honest, if Rodriguez diagnoses it about a half second later, he could be running for 6 on that play. So fast. Absolutely excellent play by him. But then a really big run by Josh Allen, his biggest of the game, as he converts for a 1st down. 3rd down and 6 in the red zone. Throw to McKenzie, beating Harris across the field. So the Lions double Gabe Davis on the left-hand side and Diggs on the right-hand side. Leaves Harris one-on-one coverage from right to left as the Bills see it. And just McKenzie burns Harris for pace, and as much as McKenzie's hands have been suspect and he's not a massively dynamic player, the Bills apparently looking actually to potentially replace him in this upcoming draft. But he absolutely wrecked Will Harris, who has experienced a resurgence as a Detroit Lion. I mean, I think in this offseason, we would all have been happy if he'd been cut. It seemed like Cap we could have got back for someone actually useful. And then you have a look at the last few games, not including this most recent one, and he's turned up with consequential plays, pass breakups, screen blow-ups. He hasn't been exceptional by any means. He's had the odd bad play too. But this wasn't the Will Harris I used to have seen over the last few years. And then suddenly in this game, it seemed like he had fallen into his old ways, which is a real shame. PAT was good, maybe? 7-7 tie. I called it no good on the live stream. On the replay, still convinced that it doesn't go through the uprights, but the referees seem confident that it went through because they didn't even deliberate. Slightly aggrieved at that. But a lovely throw by Josh Allen to Isaiah McKenzie to tie the game up there 7-7. O-line then for the Lions just start to suffer here at this point. Sack on Goff, and then a lovely throw to Amon-Ra. Anticipation by Goff as he turns around and he has to throw before Amon-Ra has made his break and even look back at the ball to beat the tight coverage on 3rd and 10. Amon-Ra makes a lovely catch. And then the Lions throw their first double reverse play of the game. Goff throws this one away, and then the next play throws a screen to Swift, and then a Williams run. He fumbles and Buffalo recover. And boys, the throw by Allen that I just referred to, and then that Jamal fumble, it started to feel like the tide was turning against the Lions at this point. You can't give up that sort of thing against a team this good.
Yeah, I mean, on the Harris coverage, I mean, he was absolutely burnt. He was smoked. Like, he was nowhere near it. And yeah, Harris has been marginally less shit in the last couple of games, but you can't have someone just switch it off like in a crucial game like this, where we don't have Jeff Okudah, and that coverage from Harris was just absolute trash.
Steve, just use the language you want to, Steve. It's fine.
Well, Ryan's not here, so
Will,
someone has to tell it like it is.
Will Harris never got out of his ass is getting cut at the end of season category. He's not even close to even beginning the climb up that mountain. He's trash. He's awful. He's never been anything more than barely competent, and he will be gone next year, and this team will be better for it. I'll just say it on behalf of Ryan.
Can't argue with it. I can't argue with it. Next possession, so Buffalo recover the fumble by Williams, and Jacobs with an absolutely massive hit on Stephon Diggs, who looks a little bit shaken up but manages to run it off. Huge 19-yard run then by Devin Singletary up the middle. That was for 19 yards or so. Great blocking by the Buffalo offensive line gets him up to the 11. He was pretty much all on his own through that run. Allen then fumbles the snap on 3rd and 2 from the 3 and manages just to waltz into the end zone. I know that the fumble of the snap means that the linemen kind of get excited and try and rush the passer as much as possible, but my God, what the fuck was that play? Like, so frustrating that a quarterback can fumble the snap, get the ball back at like the 6, and just walk in. Like, he wasn't even trying. It's gutting, and the Buffalo Bills go up 14-7. He did sidestep Alex Anzalone, but maybe that's not the hardest thing he's ever done in his career, boys. That one play just knocked the wind out of me.
Yeah, and I think in terms of how we dealt with Josh Allen, like, Josh Allen did not have his best game. He certainly didn't have his worst game, but he looked very fallible all the way through. Apart from obviously the last play where he just comes up clutch, but we've let him run 10 times for 78 yards, and you just can't do that in the NFL. And it just felt to me like we never quite got on top of him as a running threat. And again, that was one of the key differentials for me, because you just can't let the opposition quarterback have 8 yards of run.
Yeah, 8 yards per carry is absolutely horrific. Hate it. Hate it, hate it. And that walk in by Allen on the fumbled snap is just backbreaking, eh?
Yeah, it is what it is. He's a very good quarterback at the end of the day. You're not going to be able to contain him for an entire game, and sometimes, unfortunately, it happens. I know he got a few yards on the day, but most of them were off a couple of big runs. I thought for the most part we did quite well with him, but it happens. So yeah, I'm gonna go with it.
Well, for me, I really feel like we should have done better on that one play. When you've got someone like Josh Allen, maybe don't try and get the sack and just maintain gap integrity even when that happens. It's just an example of our defensive line just getting overexcited when, they utterly vacated and didn't beat their guys that they were trying to get. It was a failure. It was an abject failure, that one play, and I do really feel like if we can hold them to 3 there, it feels like we get away with that fumble without losing too much, but there we go. Massive miss by Skipper on the run block on the next line's possession, a loss of 3 to start us off. Goff then with massive pressure again up the middle, he manages to evade it and check down for 5, so get into 2nd and 8. Swift then can't convert the 3rd down. He gets to 1 short because he can't put the hammer down, looks indecisive with ball in hand. And then, so we're 4th and 1 at our own 34 first drive after that score. And we decide that we're going to go for it on our own 34 on 4th and 1. Now, you hear them on the coverage saying, they're just going to try and draw him offside. They're not actually going to go for this. But they do snap the ball and Williams manages to convert, getting 3 or 4 for the first down. I know, Ant, just on that one call, you were especially bullish about taking that call on 4th down, saying, against Buffalo, you kind of have to take your chances. And that was the right call at the right time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You do, especially in a position where we were at, where you can't afford to let the game get away from you. You have to be brave, and it's 4th and 1, and get brave with it. And the way that we converted it, we got the playbook out. We used our dynamic weapon. We kept the ball, and we said that was the whole point of this game. Keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. Don't just, punting it away using Jack Fox, it's easy, but you're giving it back to them. And the more possessions you give them, the more chance they've got of working out their funk going. So, you've got to be brave. And we were brave. And, that's why we were in it right at the end of the game, because we didn't just settle. We went for it, because sometimes the team is that much better than you that you have to. So I really was really happy with it. I would have hated it if they'd have punted, and it was justified.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with Ant. It kind of felt that we'd had a really promising start to the game, and it just felt like it was all starting to slip away at this point. I don't know. It's almost like we didn't quite believe that we could do it, I think. And yeah, there were some individual mistakes, but I don't know. It was a funny game at this point. Were you kind of expecting it to be so tight at this point? Because I was kind of thinking this is starting to head bad ways.
Yeah, I was kind of fearing the worst at this point, but I did see that, the Lions had held the Bills 3 and out in the first possession, and I kind of thought, do you want to trust your defense to maybe make that sort of play again when you know that Allen is maybe not playing his best football? Do you want to say, I trust my defense to kind of get a stop on this guy? Or do you want to say, my offense must get this play, otherwise the game is dead? Because if you don't make that 4th and 1, the game is over. Like, I felt like it was premature to put the game on the line halfway through the first quarter or whatever it was, maybe end of the first quarter. Like, it just no, actually that was midway through the second quarter, beg your pardon. It felt really early to do it when we were still well in the game at this point.
There's like a hint of desperation, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it worked and we got close, but we were just saying that going for 4th and 1 on your own 34 seems desperate when you're only 7 behind.
Yeah, but if you give them the ball back and then they drive and you're 14 behind, then you ain't coming from behind. This was always, but you always got to keep the position where we were in as a team and where the Bills in are as a team. We cannot afford to get 2 scores behind. So we have to completely abandon the run, which fair enough, it wasn't doing as much anyhow, but at least we can sell the threat of it, no matter how bad we're doing. And, it's just difficult. You want all that pressure coming on Jared Goff. You do go create turnovers. It's just going to get messy. So even at that point in the game, Dan was like, right, we need to keep the possession here. We need to keep the ball. It's not desperate. It's a realization of the position you're in. Just punting it away tamely is the easy thing to do. It's like, oh, we'll settle. We'll be fine. Whatever. It's like, no, you're up against high quality opposition here, and their offense ain't really doing it at the minute. So take it by the throat, go for it, put them under pressure, make them win it. And they did. That is why I said the Bills wouldn't want to play a team like us because, we're full of confidence. We don't take no for an answer. And we didn't. I bet they were expecting, oh yeah, they'll punt it. It's like, oh, hang on, what do you mean they're not punting it? Oh crap, they've just converted it. Oh God, they're still driving. It's all that part of the aspect of it. Telling your offense you believe in them to stay out there and get points. How many times did Patricia do it with Stafford where he just punted all the time and didn't trust him to do it? The offense paid him back. When you give them the opportunity to convert in situations like that, when it's critical and your game is on the line, it's tete-a-tete in terms of respect. It works both ways. It was not desperate.
I mean, it depends what you mean by desperate. You're saying if you punt the ball back, you'll probably lose.
I'm saying if you punt the ball back, you're giving them the ball. You're giving them another opportunity to score. That's what I'm saying. You have opened up the potential scenario where you're just going to give up, even though there's only a yard to go, and you're just going to give them another opportunity to score. And I know, I said that, and they would have known the whole point of winning this game is to extend your drives, keep them off the field, keep your offense on it, give yourself the ability to score points. You do that by going for it in that situation. It's only a 1-yard conversion. If we're talking 3 or 4, then you're like, yeah, that's a little bit dangerous, but it's 1 yard. When it gets to that, no matter really where you are on the field, unless you're in your own red zone, outside of that, 1 yard is perfectly acceptable to go for.
Fair enough. Right. So following that play, and I've lost my bloody spot. Here we go. So they go for it on 4th and 1 and convert with Williams. Then the very next play, they catch Buffalo with 12 men on the field. I mean, channeling his own Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff gets the play off as soon as possible. And I mean, you got a free play at that point. Didn't make the most of that, but get the extra 5 yards, which is fine. And then the Goff, probably my favourite play of the game. Goff play action, running towards the near sideline, throws back across his body to James Mitchell, who's kind of slipped out for maybe a gain of 20 or so. Not a play that a lot of people I think would take notice of, but the ability for Goff to throw over his shoulder like that, for Mitchell to come free and make himself available, it's one of those sneaky things which is just going to win you a game here or there because it gives you that extra breathing room. It's that sort of thing that you need to come up with regularity. It's what you see from teams like Buffalo all the time that we just haven't been able to do. And, if Mitchell can get that sort of thing going, then that's going to be really big. Milano, unfortunately, had other ideas, though. He managed to have a huge tackle for a loss following that. Oh, sorry, missed the line or two. Von Miller was then injured on that play. So he's out, and he's out for the game and possibly out for the season. 3rd and 3 at the 9. Now Swift takes it down to the 1. His knee was actually down, at the 2. And then the Lions could have killed the clock. So here's the time management stuff, and I'm more annoyed about the first half time management stuff than the second half time management. There's 2:14 on the clock, 19 seconds left on the play clock. Don't need to run a play. You've got the announcer saying don't need to run a play here. Probably just run it down to the 2-minute warning. You need to kill clock so Allen doesn't have the time. Then they run a play, and Goff doesn't look like he's ready for it, so he ends up just kind of chucking it away under huge pressure. The next play, go run, and Milano with a huge tackle for a loss puts the Lion in 3rd and 6. Then Swift runs it down to the 1, and then on 4th and 1, a play action pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. out of the slot, he runs a quick out. Touchdown Lions, 14 each, 1:52 left in the second quarter. 1:52. We shouldn't have run a play before 2 minutes. Now the Bills use their timeouts to get it to 1:52, but I think they still had 2 left at this point. They should have either had 2 minutes and no timeouts, or 30 seconds and 3 timeouts left. Instead, we left them with plenty of time on the clock to make a play. And it all started with snapping the ball too early. Now, I'm not sure Goff called for it, but either way, the time management there was absolutely terrible, and it ends up with 3 for the Bills in the end of the half, and guess what they won by? You know, it's not hard to draw a correlation here between the Lions making it easy for them to get points at the end of this half, boys.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I mean, what if they don't take the play there? It doesn't mean the exact play sequence afterwards is going to play out exactly how it did if we didn't take the play. I mean, you're just talking complete hindsight here. I don't get, we got the points. Who cares? I'd rather go for the touchdown. We let the clock run down. Like I say, the plays aren't going to happen 100% exactly the way they did beforehand. It could end up with a completely different timeline of stuff happening if you don't take one. So at the end of the day, I will take the situation which gets us points.
I'm just not sure it's an either-or situation here. But sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I don't think the point is that we still made our play. The point is we gave them an opportunity to get another 3 points, because we could have easily taken another minute off the clock there, and that would have put more pressure on Allen. They wouldn't have been able to call a variety of plays. So that, it did make a difference, because it was 3 points that we didn't need to concede.
And I mean, the thing is, so Ant's saying the play sequence may not have progressed like that. But, I mean, do you back your team from the 2-yard line to stick it in with 3 plays? Or 4 plays? If not running the clock by 15 seconds fundamentally changes your belief on whether they can do that or not, then fine, do it quickly. But I think with 2 minutes left, the time isn't an issue for you, but you can make it one for them. It's just... If you're asking
okay,
me,
so how many times have people not coughed up fumbles on the goal line from a play or something like that? You don't know.
But you could do that if you run the play early. Why does that change if you run the clock?
But that's my point. We don't know what happens if we don't run the play. We don't know. Things could happen differently.
Sure, but when we did run the play, Goff almost threw an interception or got sacked because he wasn't expecting the snap. And I mean, maybe that is a miscommunication between the center and himself, or I'm really not sure what's meant to be happening there. But I understand that the play sequence could happen differently and that could be bad. But why could it not go better? I mean, why could we not? If you want to take the downside risk of what's happening, I'll take the upside risk. Why not just say, on average, things are going to work out probably as they do anyway, apart from you're just running time off the clock? I don't get it.
Well, just think of it in a very logical way, right? If you've got 2 minutes 14, you're not going to mismanage the clock so badly you don't have time to score any points. So that's not an issue. If you've got 2:14 left and you've got the ball and you're, in the red zone, the one thing that you should be thinking is, I don't want the opposition to have time to score on the next play, because the chances are the Lions aren't going to get the ball back again. So that, only Buffalo will have the ball for that 2 minutes. So make it harder for them, run the clock down. It just seems really logical to me.
Well, they moved it the length of the field in 23 seconds. So even if you give them a minute, it's plenty.
I mean,
yeah, but if you only give them 30 seconds, then you can play a lot deeper coverage, because you absolutely know what's going to happen. But if you give someone 1 minute 52 seconds, then they can play a lot shorter stuff. They can get out of bounds, after 10, 15, 20 yards. It's a completely different defensive situation.
I mean, let's be frank. The Lions get lucky that they don't run the time off the clock and they get out of there only conceding 3, because to be honest, in that situation, I think that you're far more likely to give away a touchdown in that situation. I think it's I think that this situation is much, much worse than the end of game time decision, because in that situation, at least you ran down the clock and didn't give them very much time to score. Now, they did score. Of course, the result is the thing that matters at the end of the day, and that sucks. But you made their chance of success a lot harder in the second circumstance. In the first circumstance, you actively helped them. Like, just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we've spent enough time. Agree to disagree. Going into the half then... in fact, no, I'll just run off their field goal drive there. So, big throw on the first play to McKenzie for 27. Gets all the way to the Lions 48 on the very first play. And then a massive throw again to McKenzie down to the 17. Oh, so 17 yards. So it gets down to about the 30. Houston ends the drive with a massive sack on 3rd down and 10. Back at the 20 all the way back to the 30. But the field goal's good to end the half. Houston coming up big, only had 5 snaps on the whole game and got 2 sacks. So a massive play by the problem. Coming into the second half, Buffalo, I believe, have the ball here, and a massive tackle for a loss on the first drive by Jerry Jacobs. So wide receiver screen to Stephon Diggs. Jacobs diagnoses it straight away and hits Diggs in the legs, way behind the line. But then they have a massive conversion to Gabe Davis. Jacobs holding him, I think, pretty much the entire route. Like, he's running like a 10-yard steep and then out. And Jerry's kind of just like holding on to him like a koala bear. Gets called for illegal contact, but Gabe actually manages to make the play anyway. 30-yard pass then to McKenzie, who's just wrecking us at this point. And then a throw to Gabe Davis in the end zone, near sideline. Great throw by Josh Allen, so only his receiver can get there. Caught by Gabe Davis, but loosely. And you had Mike Hughes breaking it up by kind of swiping at his hands as the catch is made, saving a touchdown for the Lions. 3rd down it brings up. And then Jerry Jacobs unfortunately gets the DPI. Legit hook on the receiver. Looked a bit harsh on first glance, but then you can see that it's in clear view of the backside judge. Gives the Buffalo Bills 1st down and goal from like the 8 or 9. And then we intercept them. So, poor throw by Josh Allen over the line of scrimmage. Tipped up. I think it was by Hutchinson, but I'm not 100%. And that was caught by Alex Anzalone, who actually did well to adjust and get there. Lions then have the ball on their own 8. Big tackle for a loss by Ed Oliver, and then a safety. So Goff throws on 2nd down and 15, and it's incomplete. And then on 3rd down and 15, pressure up the middle. O-lineman basically pushed into Goff, and then Ed Oliver gets a hold of him. And it's the first safety the Lions have conceded since 2014. So it makes it 19-14 to the Bills with a free kick to come. And a really good kick by Jack Fox. And I'm not really sure why, but for some reason free kicks, even though you do get a short run-up, they never really seem to go as far as traditional punts, even though your set is basically the same. The only thing different is that you catch the ball by the punter, which is another thing to concentrate on. So I've never understood that, but well done to Jack Fox for getting that away well. And then Anzalone almost gets another interception, called an interception initially on the field, but then they do decide to change the call, and rightly so. It bounces just in front of him. And then James Houston, the problem, gets his 2nd sack of the game on 3rd down. Really nice play, effort sack. Allen holds onto it too long, tries to escape, and on the backside, Houston manages to get there on his legs. Great effort play. Huge game for him generally, so they have to punt. Then a huge run by Jamal Williams, nice stiff arm, gets about 20 yards on the far sideline. I thought he was going to get in, but not quite. And then a throw to Swift on that far sideline as well. Around about the 1, and he drops it, and it's just a ball that, you know, it's difficult, but if you want to win these sort of games, you kind of need to snag that. Justin Jackson then gets a 4-yard tackle for a loss, which is just awful. That puts us back to the 12, and a 29-yard field goal attempt is missed by Michael Badgley. Gone through a lot there from the start of the second half. The interception for Anzalone, the safety, and then the missed field goal for the Lions. So 19-14 to Buffalo, and they now have the ball. It seems like everything's kind of just going wrong, boys.
Yeah, the Swift drop was very similar to the one that he dropped in game one of last season against the Bears, where he needs to focus on catching the ball and securing the catch, but he's kind of like already anticipating turning for the end zone. Um, and yeah, like you could see he was already thinking about the turn, about and maybe about getting hit, and he drops it like really basic. And probably, I thought Swift was a lot better, and that was probably like the one shit thing that he did. Because other than that, I thought he had a much better game after having quite a lot of criticism in the last couple of weeks.
And you have the interception by Anzalone, you've got the sack by Houston, the safety, the badly missed field goal in there. Lots of stuff happening at the start of the second half.
Bloody hell, where do I start with it? Yeah, hang on, just come back to me in a sec.
I mean, for
There's
me,
just I can't. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. It's hard just to find somewhere to start.
okay, so let's start with the interception then. So tipped at the line after the DPI given up by Jacobs, tipped at the line, caught by Anzalone coming out, and then the safety happens pretty much afterwards on a really poor offensive set, especially for the interior offensive line.
Yeah, the interception was sensational. It was a sensational piece of work by Malcolm Rodriguez to tip it. See the way he looks at the quarterback, he finds the throwing lane. Allen like throws that thing like in laser. So for him to be able to get something on it and like take all the speed off it, so it just falls down into Anzalone's hands, that was a sensational piece of work by Amon-Ra. He's just becoming such a stud right in front of our eyes, doing everything. So that was great. Yeah, the offensive set afterwards was poor. The play calling was poor. Hook knows why they just didn't tell Goff to throw the damn thing away as soon as he got back into the end zone and not risk that happening in the first place. I don't even know why you would try and risk it against that pass rush, but hey ho, it happens. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's only 2 points at the end of the day. It ain't a killer, and the defense stopped them on the drive afterwards, so no harm, no foul. Just a little bit more time off the board, but didn't put the game in jeopardy.
And then the next Buffalo drive, Allen gets sacked by Houston. They punt. Then we drive all the way down. Swift can't make the catch, and then Badgley misses the field goal, and we've only got the announcers to blame, really. And the long snapper.
Well, Badgley's only been hitting it in from close range, so I mean, well, I suppose unfair. He's had a few good ones, but still not just fully tested over the course of a season yet. Of course, he's going to miss one at some stage. Don't believe in curses.
Oh,
You know,
I'm not
the
believing in
thing
curses
there,
either.
but
I'm blaming the long snapper firmly, because you have to see the work that the holder is doing there. So Jack Fox does an amazing job to even allow the kicker to kick it.
yeah, it does. Yeah, it was just bad execution, but again, it's not at the point where it's costing us the game at this stage. It's still a close game. You do need to take them, though. That will come with time. Special teams still needs a little bit of work. I'm still not convinced Badgley's the guy long term. I'm still looking in the draft for a kicker, but these things will hopefully work themselves out. I mean, we don't usually have that much of a problem with snaps and kicking, etc. So hopefully that can be weeded out, but still not sure we have the kicker that I want long term.
Steve, any further thoughts on that play sequence?
I mean that whole Alex Anzalone and Rodriguez interception. Like, I mean, I was off my chair at that point. That was like one of the highlights of the game because it was just such a good play. And yeah, the Lions have done this a few times this season. You've kind of felt that the narrative's going one way, and I kept saying pre-season we need people to make plays. We need people to make plays. And between Rodriguez and Alex, it was that kind of moment that's really started to change the Lions season. And I was absolutely on my feet at that point.
So the Bills at this point, 5 points ahead, and we've just missed the field goals. So they've got the ball in their own territory from about their own 30. And we force them to go 3 and out, which feels like an absolutely massive play sequence. Because at this point, I mean, if we're making the point early on in the first half that you've got to go for it on 4th and 1 in your own territory because you don't want to risk going down 2 scores, then being down 5 and they've got the ball, I mean, feels very much the same. We force them to go 3 and out. Diggs drops another catch. I make that 3 or 4 catches on him by this point in the game. He just had an absolute shocker. And then they punt the ball away, and Raymond has a huge punt return of 41 to the Buffalo 30. He beat 2 guys off the catch, gets to the sideline, tiptoes for a while, and I really did think that he was going to break it loose for a touchdown, but gets taken down at 30. We then run a double reverse next play, the second one of the game, and a defensive pass interference called on Justin Jackson. So Jackson looks like he's going to catch a ball, but actually, I'm not entirely sure he can get there, but what he does, and Ant pointed this really well out on the live reaction show that we had yesterday, is that, Thursday, is that because he tries to initiate catching the ball, although he's the one initiating contact on the defender is interfering by definition, so he kind of buys the penalty in another first down, which is really great stuff. I think the first down play doesn't amount to anything. And then 2nd down and 10, Jared Goff runs one of the best toss fakes I've ever seen. So takes snap under center, fakes a toss to the right-hand side, but then you have a little inside rush from Justin Jackson for 11. Really just convincing on the toss play, which was really, really good, all the way down to the Buffalo 10. Then on 3rd and 1, play action pass, really good blocking by the Lions offensive line for once. Patient play, waits for Chark to get free in the center of the end zone, throws it there, touchdown Lions, 2-point play to go up by 3, and a lovely one cut by Swift to walk in on the near sideline, 22-19. Now the Lions lead at this point. And then the following kickoff was touched by the return man well inside of the end zone line, and he's really, really fortunate that the ball does end up going dead. Because he touched it, the ball's now live, and if that had just checked up around the 1 yard line, the Buffalo Bills would have been in such problems, but they end up coming out to the 25. But boys, we don't make the field goal, we're down by 5, we then go and get 8 on a lovely play sequence, and then almost have a special teams kind of lucky play. I mean, the momentum goes from, we could go down 2 scores here, to we're up by 3, and we're definitely getting the ball back because there's enough time in this game. I remember saying to Ant, we can drive for the win here because they can't take 10 minutes off the clock at this point. Steve, obviously me and Ant watched it on stream. How are you feeling now?
I mean, yeah, this was like real momentum changing stuff because, like I said, I think Ben Johnson's got a lot sharper in terms of play calling, and it just felt there was a really nice variety to the offense at this point. We were kind of running it, and Goff was probably like in his best bit of the game. It also felt like the offense was vibing off the defense because the defense had come up with some really big plays, and then the offense steps in and really gets it done. So we were absolutely flying at this point, and it was this point for the first time I thought we've got the momentum here. Like the Bills were looking tired. I thought, yeah, we've really got a chance to win this here.
And 8 points for the Lions. Really nice drive. Jackson got that bought DPI that we talked about on stream. Goff play action pass to Chark with actual good blocking, and then the Swift 2-point conversion. Swift actually looked like he was on it to start. And he had a couple of iffy plays to begin with, but then started to learn that he could put the hammer down again.
Yeah, that's what you want to see from him, and you wonder why he's not done it in so long. But I think, as I said then, I think he realises he's slipping down the depth chart more week by week and heading closer to the exit door, and he needs to... Oh, hang on. Another Michigan touchdown. Sorry, this game is way too exciting.
So 14-point game now.
75 yards.
Ooh, yes, get in.
Good.
All right.
God, I feel like JJ's thrown for 400 yards today. Sorry, where the hell am I?
Lions.
Yeah,
score
Swift
8,
needs to get his ass in gear, and it finally looked like he realized that. I loved the drive, loved everything about it. We seemed to finally get our act together with it. You say you want to kill clock, you want to have good play selections in there. Thought Goff, for the most part, again, people wanted to slate Goff for this one afterwards, but I thought for the most part of the day, he absolutely diced the hell out of the Bills, especially with how they were completely gutting our run game. So, Goff orchestrated a nice drive. It ended up well. We got the points. Again, I like the aggressiveness of going for the 2-point call to get us up by a field goal in the first place. Again, I think you have to be aggressive in situations like that. Give yourself a cushion just in case you do give away a field goal or something. It helps. So the execution on the 2-point was really good. Yeah, I liked what I saw a whole lot from that, and I know we were very happy at the time because in those situations, too many times we've kind of been that score down and we've let teams get away from us, but we never let the Bills get away from us. We always kept them in check. We always kept them in reach, and that's what I really liked about this. When when people thought they were just starting to turn the screw on us, we unscrewed it.
I find the 2-point play really interesting, not the play itself, but the decision to go for it. Obviously really happy that they converted. I remember saying at the time, I don't like the decision, because there's two ways it goes. You get the 2-pointer, you're up by 3, if they kick a field goal, you're still tied, and that's great. Are you confident you can hold them to 3, is the question, because if they score a touchdown, they go up by 4, although, of course, they did score a touchdown and didn't get the PAT, but we'll come to that. But if they score a touchdown and get the PAT, they're up by 5, you still need to score a touchdown. But if you don't get the 2, you end up being up by 1, they score a touchdown and they get a 2-pointer themselves, they're up by 7, and there's nothing really that you can do about that. You're now driving for a touchdown to tie the game. You kick the extra point, which is far more certain, you go up by 2, okay, fine, if they get the field goal now, you are behind. But if they get a touchdown, even if they get 8, they're only up by 6. A touchdown wins you the game. So it's a really interesting philosophical decision whether you want to be up by a field goal or definitely make sure that you can drive for the win at the end of their next drive. I don't know if you have any weighing in on that, Steve, because it's when you're up against a team as good offensively as the Bills, do you want to risk missing the 2 and then you can only drive for a tie?
I mean, I think it's all about confidence, and they obviously felt that the 2 was on. And I think if you're confident, go for it, because yeah, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, the 2 does massively help there if it all goes well. It was a risk, but it was like a calculated one.
All right, so on the next possession, so the Bills are driving when they're 3 down, looking to go ahead with about 10 minutes to go, and we hold them to 3 and out. Excellent PBU by Jerry on Gabe Davis on 2nd and 10, ends up in a punt. Lions now have about a 67% chance to win the game. Ball in hand, Amon-Ra St. Brown with 2 consecutive catches for first downs, and then on the next play, Goff almost throws the most baffling interception I've ever seen. So pressure up the middle, he kind of gets spun around but rights himself and tries to throw a check down to Justin Jackson. In double coverage, even though Jackson's 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, one guy is there, and an amazing play by Justin Jackson, who's turned into a DB to kind of put the ball out of his hands, because the DB's caught it at this point, and Jackson saves what might have been 6 at that point. Following that, Goff just missing the 3rd down conversion to DJ Chark wide on the right-hand sideline. End up punting the ball at that point. So we'd almost got to our own 45, and we're up by 3. Touchdown pretty much ends the game at this point. We've got about 6-7 minutes left. So we punt the ball away. Jerry then hurt in a tackle on Dawson Knox at this point. So halfway through the 4th quarter, a nothing throw to Dawson Knox for 2 yards. Like, they're backed up at their own 10. And Knox, like, Jerry hits him in his legs, and Knox just falls on Jerry's head, and you can see him kind of walking away all woozy, and, he just didn't look like he was in a good place. But Buffalo don't care. They proceed with their drive. Great throw on to Dawson Knox on 2nd and 9 to get it to midfield. And then Austin Bryant, one of the plays of the game. 2nd and 10. Josh just doesn't make the throw, and about 2 yards after the ball's been thrown, Bryant just throws him to the ground. Unnecessary roughness, or not unnecessary, roughing the passer, beg your pardon. Gives them another 15. Get down to 1st and 8 at the 8 with 3 minutes left, and a really easy touchdown to Stephon Diggs. Kind of reminiscent of Amon-Ra St. Brown's slant route earlier, apart from in the red zone. Diggs just eats his guy for breakfast. Bills go up by 3. The PAT is no good wide left, I think. And they end up leading by 3, 25-22 with 2:40 left. Bit to go through there, boys, again. But we were driving for the win. 3 points up. And just kind of melted away at that point. And then Jerry goes out. And then the touchdown to the Bills. 2:40 left. And we're still driving for the win. But a slight sinking feeling at this point.
Oh boy, this is the Lions and where we are now. It's just such a fine line between disaster and triumph, because everything was going for us, real momentum, and then there's just like a succession of unfortunate events. I mean, Aubrey Pleasant has been sacked this season. If I was Brad Holmes, I'd have fucking sacked Austin Bryant for that, because it was the most stupid, brainless thing to do. Like, it was not even close to getting a sack. Like, the ball had gone ages ago, and he just absolutely wrestles him to the ground. It was so brain dead from Austin Bryant. And yeah, that throw that Goff made that Justin Jackson managed to claw back. I mean, again, just a brainless, just stupid from Goff, like so stupid. Yeah, and all of a sudden we've gone from being in control with momentum, and now we're just kind of like floundering again. It was brutal. This was a brutal couple of minutes of play.
And your thoughts on maybe the Austin Bryant roughing the passer?
He's an idiot. James Houston could have his spot. You know what? I've been a very big Austin Bryant fan. I generally tend to favour him over Julian. The pair of them are how they've been doing at the start of the year. But Julian started to step up, and Austin hasn't left his seat. He's not been good. It was a stupid penalty. It was a needless penalty. It was blatantly late. It wasn't even like it was an accident or anything like that. Just can't afford that. Cannot afford that in games like this. You need discipline in your players. Those undisciplined days we're starting to trample behind us now. He's an idiot, and he should be punished for it.
Yeah. Oh, CJ Stroud intercepted. Is that ball game?
Yeah. He's a fraud. And I'll tell everyone listening now, don't draft CJ Stroud in your mock drafts, please. He's a fraud. He's played in 2 big games and he's came up short in them both. He's not good. He's got to be the next bust out of Ohio State.
What a shame. What a shame. Right, 2:40 left. 3 points down. The Lions have a chance to either tie or win the game right here. 2:40 left means they should be able to use the majority, if not all of the clock in this drive without having to rush. And the drive goes thusly. Huge play by Swift. I think it's on a screen pass. He misses having a tackle for a loss by sidestepping a guy, ends up gaining 15 and a first down. That brings us to the 2-minute warning. On 3rd and 6, a run by Swift. He cuts upfield but slips, and he's only contacted with inches to go. On 4th and inches, Lions dial up a fantastic play. Amon-Ra St. Brown, jet sweep on 4th down and inches, converts. It's that sort of play you just know works against us every time, but you never see us running it, and finally we do. Lovely sweep. Gets us down to about 40 seconds to go. We're now at about the 30-yard line, and a false start by Penei Sewell, which really felt like a dagger to the heart with this short on time at this point. But 40 seconds left and a false start. We then run a play. Amon-Ra St. Brown, short of the line to gain, means that it's 3rd and 1. It was called a conversion on the field. Then they reviewed it, and it was ruled that he was short by 1, we'd run the clock down from about 38 seconds all the way down to 21.
My days.
So 17, 18 seconds lost. And then eventually the review comes in. And because the review comes in, 11 seconds more is added. So now 32 seconds left. 3rd and 1 from about the 30-yard line or so. Maybe it's a bit further back, 33. And here's the play that everyone's talking about. Goff taking the snap and throwing deep to DJ Chark. And to be fair to Chark, he's got a yard of separation or two. He's not beating his guy outright, but he's got enough space that he can make the play. If Goff puts it on the money, he does walk in for the touchdown, but Goff just doesn't get it right. And it is the second such time this season that Goff, on a money situation late, has taken that throw. Now, I think Goff takes ownership of this in the post-game presser, saying basically it's my call, and he had 4 different options he could have taken there that would have probably converted. 3 of them would probably have converted for the first down, but he took the shot. And then on 4th and 1 with about 26 seconds to play, the Lions take the field goal from 51, which is good. It looked like it was going wide right. Like, it really didn't look like it was getting in there, but just squeezed in. 25-25, 23 seconds left. Diggs then gains for 31 on the first play, gets them to the 39, 16 seconds left. Allen and a keeper for 10, then the field goal, 45-yarder is good, 28-25, ball game. Let's talk about the 3rd and 1 throw, the decision to kick it on 4th and 1, and then the defense to give up the field goal at the end. 3 big moments in this game. And especially just off the back of a really nice Amon-Ra St. Brown play. So 2nd and 15, and he manages to get 14 to get down to 3rd and 1. So the Lions have a bit of momentum going into this 3rd down play. Time put back on the clock. Let's ignore the time management bit because we can talk about that in a minute. 3rd down and 1. What do you make of the call by either the offensive coordinator or the quarterback to go for it?
I hated it. Hated every little bit about it. I mean, personally for me, I know they're kind of acting in a field goal scenario where they're like, oh, we can fall back on the field goal and it doesn't really matter. We can go hell for broke. But for me, in that situation, I'm acting like it's 4th down territory. I mean, I've said throughout this, I believe you need to be aggressive to go and beat teams like this. And for me, they settled. And I don't like the fact that they settled to try and go to overtime. I mean, for me, the whole biggest turning point of this damn game is Tyler Bass shanking that extra point. Tyler Bass doesn't shank that extra point, then we would have had to go for it. We wouldn't have had the choice. We wouldn't have had that safety blanket to fall onto. And I think we'd have won the game if he'd not have missed that extra point, which sounds silly, but I'd have been, I'd have done exactly the same thing that we did on the 4th down right at the start of the game in the beginning of our half. I'd be getting the motion in. I'd be getting the jet sweep going. I won't be trying to run it through the middle because that's useless. They're stopping us there. But I'd be getting the trick plays out. I'd be treating that as a 2-down situation to get a yard or get a bit more, and then I'd be taking shots at the end zone and going for it and going for the whole thing. For me, trying to lob it up to Chark, it's a play that's been done before. It cost us against Dolphins. It's cost us in games before in others. I didn't like it. We're going back to the making passes for Goff that we know he can't make, and I think we'll get him a lot of criticism. And at that point, I'd not really had many issues with what Goff did that day, but I thought they settled. I thought they went for it all when they didn't have to, just because they knew that they could fall back on the field goal in case it went wrong. And I think for me, they lost their balls at that point. They should have picked their balls up and really gone for it. Like I say, you've got two touchdowns. You've got 2 timeouts in the bag. Get the yard, use the timeout, reset yourself, get going again. You've got some passing plays to be able to make stuff happen. You've got Amon-Ra who can move the chains for you quickly. You can put yourself in a situation. You don't need to be 50 yards out trying to take a field goal because that thing barely went in. I thought it was drifting wide and it just slowly drifted in. But it's just my personal philosophy of playing football. If I'm up against a big team like that, I'm not I am not going to get an opportunity to beat the Buffalo Bills very often. So instead of falling on my sword trying to go to overtime, I'm going to try and drive my sword into their heart by winning in regular time. And I completely disagree with the decision first to throw it on third down and then to go the coward's way out with the field goal on the fourth for me. But that is just my personal way of looking at it. I'm not saying they're wrong, but that's how I play football. If I've got a big giant potentially able to kill him, I'm going to go for his heart.
Let me just have one more word from you, Ant, on this as well. If you have a look at the route tree on that play, there's 4 receivers on there. Obviously, Chark is the one going up down the sideline, but there are 3 others. One on a shallow cross, and then 2 others also on crossing routes towards the side of the field that Chark is on. Do you dislike who he chose to throw to, or do you dislike the play call generally? Like, what about it don't you like?
I don't like the decision to throw it. For me, I'm operating as if I'm in, and this is just how I look at it. I'm operating in fourth down scenario there. I want my team to go for it and win it, because all you're doing with overtime is you're putting yourself back on a level playing field. At that point, on that 3rd and 1, we are in control of our destiny then. We have the opportunity to close that game out and win it. And you know what? If we balls it up and it all goes wrong, we can still kick a field goal and then we can reset our chances. I just felt we were kind of premature in going for the field goal and kind of settling for it. I thought we had more opportunity to do it. So I hated the throwing aspect of it. Now, as for who he picked, I am not an NFL quarterback. You have such little time to make that read, to make that call. One thing that really pisses me off with all these people who, in hindsight, after the time, start producing all these charts and that, oh, look, this man's wide open, that one's wide open, look at the route he's running. Yeah, are you in that guy's shoes? Have you got half a second whilst you've got a 280-pound in defensive end barreling down on you, about to clean you out? It's very hard to make those split-second decisions. If you've settled on your read for such an important play, I don't kind of want him going at the last minute, because you might just take a sack and then you are screwed because you're going to be out of field goal range there. So I think you kind of have to know where you're going beforehand, because I don't think he really had the time to go through every single read. And that's what I hate about those pseudo analysts afterwards who do all that kind of crap. It's like, because is it Amon-Ra who's like clear down the middle of the field? Is it someone's right clear down the middle of the field, aren't they?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, why didn't you just throw it there? Oh, right. So yeah, he zeroed in. That extra time he has to look over there, set himself and throw it. It's probably the best part of a second, nearly. He doesn't have a second to make that adjustment before he gets his head taken clean off. So,
yeah,
I have no issue with who he chose. I have an issue with the way they threw it, though. I thought it was cowardly. If I'm Dan Campbell, I'm thinking, right, I'm going to go and take this beast down and I'm going to make a point. And I just feel like the field goal bin there sort of tempered our aggression negatively.
Steve?
I'm going to disagree with Ant, and me and Ant don't disagree on much, but
I'll still love you, Steve.
For me, there's going to be a point in February, March where we're talking about the draft, and for last year, I was very much do not draft a quarterback. This year, if anyone says that we don't need a quarterback, then we need to get Will Anderson. We need to bulk out the D. This is the play that we have to come back to, because this play encapsulates why we need a quarterback. Because the reason I'm disagreeing with Ant is this is not about being an armchair analyst. This is about being a quarterback. This is what quarterbacks do. This is what quarterbacks do from high school through college. They are trained and drilled into these scenarios. This is the game. This here is absolutely the game. And this is why, Goff just is a liability in these situations. Because you've got a situation where you've got man coverage 4-on-4. Okay. And of those 4 routes, when Goff throws the ball, Amon-Ra St. Brown is coming across on a slant. He's really well covered. That would be the hardest throw. Khalif Raymond is running a hook. He's got a little bit of separation. That would be the second hardest throw. Chark is absolutely blowing past, I think it's Dane Jackson, the cornerback. And Chark's so far ahead of his corner that he's drawn the safety, Jordan Poyer. So Poyer has seen what's happening, has seen that Chark's got the jump on him, and he starts to drift across into coverage. And at that point, Shane Zylstra blows down the middle of the field. And when Goff throws the ball, Poyer's already moving, and Zylstra is in 5 yards of space. So Zylstra is the ball. You throw to Zylstra, you have a first down. It's an easy throw. Probably the second easiest throw is to throw, onto Shark's back shoulder. But the throw's fucking awful. It's short and it's wide, and Shark's got no chance. And this is the game. Like, that's the game there. Like, makes that throw up the middle to Zylstra. It's an easy throw. He's in absolute yards of space. He should have been able to pick that out. The safety's already moving. Like, you can see when you watch the replay, Poyer's already taken 2 steps to the right and Zylstra is gone. And it's a 12-yard throw. Are you telling me that we shouldn't expect Goff to make those throws? And, it's not like he's got a lineman right down his throat. Like, he's under pressure, but he's still got a bit of time, and he just blows it, and that's the game. And it doesn't matter about, anything else that's happened in the game, Badgley missing a field goal. If Zylstra makes that throw, or if Chark is able to catch that ball, game over.
So here's where I'm at with this. Steve, I agree that it would be lovely if you had a quarterback that could do that. But with respect, I think Jared Goff knows he's not that guy.
It's not Patrick Mahomes' throw there, Matt. It's not like it's not a Josh Allen on a rope 50-yarder. It's a 10 to 12-yard throw down the middle of the field.
It does have a spot. It does have it's a weird velocity type throw, isn't it? Where you've got to sort of get the angle right. And I'm not saying it's not a thing you can do, but there are a lot of mediocre quarterbacks in this league who probably couldn't make that throw either. So
what I wanted to kind of go with though here is I hear what you're saying, Steve, about it not being something that he's that it doesn't have to be a 100% amazing, like, best ever quarterback to do it in terms of it being Mahomes or Allen or whatever. But I'm buying Ant's argument here. So the Lions are on their own 33 on 3rd and 1. If you eat a sack here, you lose the chance to go for the field goal to tie the game. You then have a Hail Mary situation on 4th down to desperately try and win the game with a touchdown, which probably loses. So before the snap is taken, you'll know that Dan Campbell's in Goff's ear saying, whatever you do, don't take a sack. And what that probably means in that situation is premeditating your read. This is the play we're calling. This is the reason why we're calling it. It's designed for this person in particular. So no matter what the play progression is on that play, Goff is either throwing it to his one read, or he's throwing the ball away to avoid a sack. And I don't think there are any other possibilities on that play. Like, I just don't think any of the other routes and how they run it matter, because if you have a look at how the guards have been wrecked through the game on pass blocking, if you're told you can't eat a sack, then that is very much on your mind. Like, resetting as Ant says and changing your reads probably results in a sack. Like, it should be a play that in a situation you should be able to make. But with the game on the line and a tie 65% certain from the kick you're taking at the moment, risking an extra second in the pocket is egregiously bad. Like, risking an extra second in the pocket is worse than trying to make the adjustment.
But he's got a throw open down the middle of the field. Like it's open. It's wide open.
Yeah, but again, that's kind of what I mean. I'm not privy as to whether, because it all happens so quick. Is he able to make every single read? And plus the play development, you know, is that guy, when he's specifically looking at that guy, is he open on the field at that moment in time? I'd have to check the entire all 22 of it to see, but
And trust me, and he's open. Like
Oh
trust
yeah,
me,
he's very, very open. He is very open. But like,
when you've got a guy right in your face, if you zeroed in,
there's no one right in his face. There is no one right in his face.
I don't know. I would have to check more myself before I could pass a judgment. Like I said, I've never done it before. I've never been in that situation. I don't know how you can do your reads and that. So
I would say that if there's a man in your face and you can escape that pressure and you back yourself to be able to get spin out of something regularly and successfully and then make a throw on the run, that you can more easily risk that situation. Goff is not that guy and he knows he's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying.
This is the point for me. It should never have been in Goff's hands in the first place. They got cowardly by going for the throw on the third down, in my opinion. You've already converted a critical down situation earlier for a yard by using motion and Amon-Ra. There's no reason, it's just people, because I see people defending not running the ball, saying, oh, well, they're stuffing us in the middle. Well, you
don't run it down the middle.
Don't run it down the middle. Exactly. We have the personnel in Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown in DeAndre Swift to be able to use motion successfully to gain a yard. You've got two.
That's what quarterbacks do.
You've got two attempts.
Quarterbacks make plays at crucial moments. That's what they do. And if you don't have a quarterback, then that massively limits your entire game plan. And that's why we need.
I'm not disagreeing, but it's up to the coaching staff to not put him in these situations. At that point, at that time, that is not game on the line play territory. We still have 2 timeouts. We still have time. That's not the time to go all Hail Mary time and give it to your quarterback. You've got 2 attempts to get a yard. So you've got 2 attempts to run the ball over that 1 yard line. You've got timeouts to use. At worst, you run the ball twice, you get the yard, you've used your timeouts, but you're in a situation where you've got at least 3 attempts to throw it downfield at the end zone and get a touchdown. Or dink and dunk it out, get a little bit closer, then take some shots down there. You are given the opportunity to do that. I mean, this is why I'm not blaming, it's on Goff really, but I'm blaming it on the coaching staff because Goff should never have been in the situation where he has to make that throw in the first place. He can't do it. The staff shouldn't have put him in that situation. They were cautious because they had that buffer of the field goal to tie it up, thinking they could go to overtime. Now, that's a mistake. When you start, assuming shit. I mean, you know what they say about assume? Makes sense out of you and me. They assumed, let's take the field goal, let's take it to overtime. I'll assume that. Do you not stop to think who the quarterback on the other side of the pitch is? Do you not stop to think of the weapon that he's got to throw at? Do you not stop to think about they're going to put him on the weakest part of your secondary? Guy who shouldn't be on the pitch at all. It's like all this stuff should be coming into your effect, and you should be like, right, well, why don't we bleed the clock and give us only a chance to win? Screw it if we lose. Who's going to care if we lose by 3? I mean, we lost by 3 in the end anyhow, but who would have cared if we'd have gone for that and lost? I mean, or gone, tried to run the ball, got the ball, tried to throw it a few times, didn't do it. No one would have cared if we didn't take the field goal. Oh, well, they probably would have. There's always those people who say they will, but I wouldn't have. And I feel like a lot of others wouldn't have either. So for me, yeah, you just got too cautious.
I agree with that. I think even running the ball down the middle is better than the play they called. Because, okay, fine, they're selling out for the run. If they stop you for no gain, okay, now you're 4th and 1 and you have a decision to make. You've got to take a timeout. Okay, but if you go for it and you take your final timeout, well, now you have 3 shots. You have a full set of downs and you have to throw it at the end zone, but at least you have 3 shots. If you don't go for 4th and 1, well, okay, but you gave yourself a good chance to get 3 more downs. If you convert, you've got a timeout in your pocket, and you can run the ball if you want. Like, there's still enough time to do that, but also like you say, quick outs to Amon-Ra or anything like that, they're all on the table. What they did is they put the game on the line to Chark right there, which just seems like a tactical misstep. It just seems like it's a mistake. Now, in a plain situation where you know that the opposition are selling out, anywhere else in the field, at any point in the game that isn't right at the end of the game, and it's the last possession if you're giving it back, you'd say, okay, well, if they're selling the house out, that throwing the ball over the top is the right play. Like, in isolation, it's the right call. But it isn't in isolation. The context does matter, and what you really need is a fresh set of downs, and you called a play which has a low percentage chance of success. Like, it's not a tactically sound decision. Despite the fact that it is the best play call against the defense you have, it's still not tactically the right thing to do.
Exactly. And like I say, you're in a situation where you can only give yourself a chance to win the game. Fair enough, you could lose it, but at the end of the day, and this goes back to the whole thing at the start of this game, keep that Bills offense off the field and give yourself the chance to win the game. That's what it is all about. That is what this entire game was about. And by going and being brave on that 1-yard call there, treating it as a 4th down situation, thinking, you know what, yeah, I can tie it with a field goal, but screw it, I want to go for the whole caboodle here, because that's how you do it. I mean, even if we do get to overtime, I mean, the odds of still beating Josh Allen flat out one-on-one, it doesn't they don't go up. Like you said, you're starting from a level base again. Put me in a situation where I'm behind, but only I can decide whether I win this game or not. Not level it up and give Josh Allen the final say on the game, because 9 times out of 10, you know which way it's going. Probably even more than that.
Steve, any more thoughts on the 3rd down, or should we talk about the 4th down decision?
I mean, you run up the middle of the field and you get a 1st down. You've still got to throw the ball somewhere. Like, unless you're like the New Orleans Saints and you've got Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in 2016, like you've got to throw the ball at some point. So I kind of don't understand saying it's all the coach's fault, because there's points in the game where Goff is going to have to throw the ball.
Sure.
And I don't think there was a much easier throw that he could have had to make than the one to Zylstra up the middle. And yeah, he made the wrong choice. He went for the harder throw with Chark, but he didn't miss it by 2 inches. He missed it by 2 feet, or more. It was just a crap throw.
It was a
really crap throw.
6 to 8 foot wrong. But I guess the point from me and Ant to you is, give Goff any easy throw you like, or give Goff 3 chances to make any easy throw you like. Like, the game was put on the line on 3rd down, and he should make the Zylstra throw. Even if we accept that point, Goff is mostly accurate, but has the odd bad throw in him. Why not give him 3 chances to make that throw by making the play call that converts the 3rd down more often than passing it does?
I mean, that's the point. You got to put your quarterback in a situation where you find it more favourable. You convert that 1 yard, Bill's going to prevent defense, because you're at that point, they know you're going for a win. So one thing that Goff has shown that he can do is do the whole dink and dunk thing with Amon-Ra and get you in close enough. And he's actually shown to be a very effective passer in the red zone. He's made some very good throws, for touchdowns in the red zone recently. So you give yourself more of a chance. Like I said, you give yourself 3. So Goff can one up. There could be one where he has a guy 10 miles open in there, and if he fucks it up, he's still got 2 chances. We've not just limited ourselves to 1 chance with him where we've been able to do this.
And how many times does Goff make the red zone touchdown on 3rd or 4th down where we've gone run or pass on 1st or 2nd down? He has 2 or 3 bites at the cherry before getting there. He doesn't often make that throw the first time of asking, but give him enough chances from the same position and he gets there eventually. I just think putting it all on 1 throw is just too much, regardless of how easy it is. Like, just play the numbers. And I mean, the guys in the chat are saying it's goal line defense. What else can you do against this? But someone else came back
Look
with
what we did against the Giants. How many times did we convert against them in the best red zone defense in the league? He made some good throws in there. Well, obviously it was all run-ins on the day, but to get there, etc., he does it well. And besides, you can even get the run game going if you get that close in because the run blocking scheme's that good. So I'm all in. I thought they quit. I thought they quit on trying to get the win. No, I don't. I don't mean. No, I think the staff quit on trying to get the win in regular time. I generally do, because for me that is kind of, oh well, let's give it this risque throw that we know Goff has not made before, and this read, let's do it again type thing, and or we'll settle for the field goal. Otherwise, they didn't even try and draw them off or give the attempt of going for a fourth. It was always just going to be, all right, let's do this. If we don't, field goal, tie it, we'll go to overtime.
Yeah.
I just felt like they gave up a bit too easily on it. I think we'd be having a much different conversation now if Bass hits that extra point.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
One.
So you would go after that. We've talked about this throw now. Fine, it's 4th down and 1, and you're going for it instead of the field goal. I guess you're trying to convert the 4th down.
I'll bring the entire jumbo package in and do it the old-fashioned way. I know we've said we've had trouble doing that, but in that situation, I wouldn't throw it in the first place. But I wouldn't try to do anything fancy on 4th down after. I'd just let them know what I was doing and I'd beat them out of the way.
Steve, would 4th down and 1, would you be kicking that field goal and saying I back my defense to defend for 28 seconds, or would you be going for it on 4th and 1?
I'd have gone for it. I wouldn't have kicked the field goal because I'd have been worried about leaving too much time on the clock and them coming back up, which is what happened. 4th and 1, I'd have gone for it. Win the game. Win the game.
What happened in the way that we conceded this field goal is an absolute carbon copy of the Vikings game last year, where Jerry Jacobs had the busted coverage on Justin Jefferson for a long throw first play. Pretty much exactly the same play, pretty much exactly the same way, pretty much exactly the same amount of time on the clock. Now, I wouldn't go in there saying I don't believe my defense can hold out for 30 seconds, because you know what? When Allen came onto the field, I didn't think Allen can definitely do this. I thought we're going to overtime. Mainly because, although Allen still showed he had the kind of arm to do things, that he was clearly limited. He wasn't throwing the ball as accurately as he would like. You've got Diggs, who's been shockingly bad all game. If you wanted a situation at any point in Allen's career since he became a good quarterback, so year 2, year 3, I wasn't that worried about leaving them the 30 seconds on the clock. Now, the question is, do I want to go to overtime or not? Or do I just want to say, let's go for this? Now, it's not like going for the extra point to go to overtime or going for 2 to win the game. But it's not too dissimilar a decision. It's, do I want to say, let's give ourselves a chance to win and not leave any time on the clock and risk losing the game right here? Or do I take overtime and I probably lose anyway? Because let's face it, win the coin toss and hoping this team drives down all the way down the field to win the game is... It doesn't feel like... So if the Bills win the toss, I feel like they win the game. And if the Lions win the toss, do I back them to do that? Or do I back them from where they are right now to at least have a shot? And then for me, 4th down and 1 is just such an obvious decision to go for it. If you screw it up and you manage to still get the field goal away for a tie, fine. And if you get sacked with 12 seconds on the clock and you have to try and rush on the team to attempt the field goal and you don't quite make it, well, I ride or die with that decision. But I just felt like our chance of winning the game was much higher by going for it on 4th and 1. Overall, I just do. I don't really want to analyse the defense too much, mainly because I haven't seen the all-22 of this final drive with 23 seconds left. But it's painful. Once it happens, it feels inevitable. But did you guys really feel like Allen was going to do it? 23 seconds left.
I've learned not to. I've learned from all our past heartbreaks to always expect the worst. So
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Jerry Jacobs went off the field, I was doing the maths in my head. Okay, no Akuda, no Jacobs. That means that we're down to Amani and Will Harris. Oh, holy fuck. Because they've got Stephon Diggs, they've got Gabe Davis, Mackenzie's decent. It was a disaster waiting to happen, I thought.
There we go. Let's talk about the game then at a bit of a higher level. One thing I noticed was that, again, there was a lot of play action from the Lions, and it's where Goff seemed to do best. One thing that I thought was quite interesting is the number of naked bootlegs that Goff was running. So that's making a play action play and rolling out one way or the other with no offensive lineman in front of you whatsoever. So no protection. If a defender reads what's happening, he's going to have a clear run at you. I think Goff did it 3 or 4 times in this game, and it beat the Bills every time he was doing it, and he always had plenty of time to make a throw. And it does feel like Goff's best work comes out of play action. I mean, he's not dissimilar to Kirk Cousins in that way, or someone else. He just seems like standard drop backs, he's okay, but he's not that great. Get that play action game going for Goff, and he's a completely different quarterback.
yeah, I think that's a fair summarization.
I think I've spoken about Jared Goff enough.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, he's the experiment's over. It's done. It's a matter of when, not if now, that he goes. I think the only question left is whether because there's no guaranteed money left after this year. I think the only question left is whether the deal is restructured for one more year on a cheaper deal, whilst the developmental guy learns the reins and then the takeover's done, or whether they just rip the band-aid off and deal with it all now. I think that's the only question left when it comes to Jared Goff. There will be a quarterback coming next year. Which road they go down, that remains to be seen. Depends what the Rams do, depends what we do. Hell, depends what Holmes feels like doing, because, the picks we've got now won't be the picks we end up having in the draft. That's a guarantee. But, for all I've said about Goff and that, I disagree, but I'm with you, Steve. He's not it. He really is not it. And his audition is over. The curtain is closed. The fat lady is singing. It's just a matter of when or if and what the long-term succession plan is for him.
So the question, Ante, is last year you weren't keen on any of the QB class. I think you've been more than vindicated. Do you think there's someone in this year's QB class that's attainable for us with our draft capital that could step in and make an immediate impact and be better than Goff? I don't mean get us to the playoffs, but make some throws, be dynamic.
The thing with this year's draft class of quarterbacks, there are no starters in it. I mean, I say there are no starters in our attainable range, I don't think. I think Bryce Young will be a starter. You've just seen CJ Stroud cough up on the biggest national stage today. Hopefully his fraudulent status is done. But anyone after that, you're taking developmental traits. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, these are developmental guys who are not day one starters. So you are in the territory where you kind of have to at least deal with Goff for half a season, maybe, while you develop some of these guys, and then have a takeover eventually. So I think if you want rid of Goff straight away for a bona fide starter, you're going to have to pay very heavily for it. But there are good developmental guys in this draft who, if you do it right with them, I think you'll get a really good starter on a Sunday, and they will be better than Jared Goff. But not day one starting potential. That's where I'm at with it at the moment.
So we'll get on to that in just a second for me in terms of the quarterbacks of this class. I just want to get on to 2 up, 2 down from this game, and then I'll wheel back to this question. So some guys that maybe you want to give a game ball to, and some guys that you want to dog on a little bit. Any thoughts, boys? Steve?
Um, well, I mean, we've talked about Will Harris, haven't we? Um, you know,
Talk more, Steve. Let's just let it be known.
Let it all out.
I mean, he just. I mean, it's only because of the circumstances that we're in, and with Akuda, with Jacobs. Otherwise, Will Harris should just not be on the field. So yeah, I mean, he was just terrible. But I think on defense, James Houston had a fantastic game. Um, I thought actually Mike Hughes played a bit better than he has done. Bugs was good again. Aleem maybe wasn't as lethal as he was against the Bears, but still had a decent game. Um, Rodrigo was just absolutely immense. Like for me, he would be the defensive game ball. I just thought he had a fantastic game. Um, yeah, so I think for me, Rodrigo on offense,
Defense.
and on defense, and yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
on
he's
offense,
that good.
I think on offense, Ragnar had a great game, and Ragnar's I don't think's playing fully fit, coming back from injury. I thought Ragnar was absolutely dominant. We got some really good push, so I'd give the offense to ball to Ragnar.
If you're an undersized like corner, an undersized safety or something, I wouldn't want to see Malcolm carrying the rock, running at me downfield. I feel like screw that. I'll get out his way and off I go.
And your guys, and not your guys this week.
You know what? I'll give a big shout out to Mike Hughes this week. I thought Mike Hughes was superb in this game for the most part. I know he got burned for a tutty at some point. I can't remember which one, but there were a couple of really impressive reps with Stephon Diggs in there. Big pass breakups. I think they targeted him like 11 times or something like that. So they went to the well with him. Only gave up 5 catches. But I can vividly remember in my mind the good plays he made, and I said on stream, I'm like, yeah, that was impressive. I mean, it's been very quiet from him so far. Everyone thought with him coming in for the Chiefs, having a good season, he'd instantly put himself into conversation to be like the leader in the cornerback room, the main guy out there, and it's kind of not worked that way. But I think it's been a big learning curve for them all. When you're coming from a Chiefs defense, it's not the greatest in the world, but you're on a Super Bowl caliber team. You're coming down to Detroit. It's kind of a bit of a culture shift. There's a lot less talent here currently. A lot of good young guys there. I think just like anyone, he's taken his time to learn and adapt to this scheme. But I felt like really for the first time this weekend, I saw a complete performance out of him. I'm like, you know what? I got a Cooter on one side. I got him on another. I actually feel pretty comfortable at this point here. I got Jerry in, starting to feel a bit better about my corner room at the minute. I mean, still want to add another corner one in the draft, but I thought Hughes did really well. So I give big kudos to him there. Obviously, I'm going to give kudos to James Houston. I know he only played 5 snaps, and I know it's the easy one, but my track record of my belief about him is on here for all to see. I ain't just jumping on a train that's already left the station trying to pretend I was there all along. I said I saw the talent that he brings to this team, both as in sort of that like outside linebacker role, and you saw it in this, 2 really good sacks, and in a game where Josh Allen escaped a lot of tackles and evaded a lot of pressure, he got 2 opportunities and he took 2 opportunities. He made sure he ended that play right then and there, and that's what he brings to the table. He is really good edge rusher, and yeah, of course, his game needs refining. That's why he's drafted in the 6th round. He dealt with being let go and then having to deal with the practice squad, but the team have stuck by him. He's come in, he's got a few snaps, he's repaid his faith. I think he even got the fumble recovery. Did he get a fumble recovery or something and all?
The
I think
fumble
on
recovery
5.
was Hutchinson, I think.
I thought it was Hughes. I thought it was James. Aiden's fumble recovery was the other week, was it not?
Yes, you're right. Hang on.
But I'm pretty sure Houston got the fumble recovery this week as well. So 5 snaps, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery. So yeah. Anyhow, that is what James Houston brings to the table. hopefully he will get a roster spot permanently now, and he'll be able to move on forward and be able to keep on making plays, because that's what he is. He's a guy who's got a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove, which is what a lot of guys in this new Detroit team have. But I was just delighted to see him. So when he was elevated, he comes in, he makes the plays. So yeah, as far as he goes, absolutely great. I know there's only a couple of players, but
Yeah,
sorry.
no, you were absolutely right. It was Houston with a fumble recovery. I beg your pardon. Right, my guys on this team. First one up, career high on this game for pressures. Career high on this game for sacks with 1. So his first ever career sack. Benito Jones, only 25 snaps on the game, but looked good on the interior. Still not a great tackler. That is going to have to change if he wants to make it in this game. But I thought that he was an entire liability really coming to this game. That's his best game as a Lion so far, and I hope to see consistent improvement from him, because that could be great if he could become a rotational piece on the side. I don't expect him to ever really become a starter, but if he can be the 3rd or 4th guy in on that interior of, so 2 starters and then he's one of the 2 behind, I think that could be a solid piece if he can just improve on that tackling. I saw some really good other things from him. Another guy on defense, I thought that Aquara had a good game before he went out injured. I know that Ant was kind of lamenting on stream the fact that he got injured early, because he looked like he was having a disruptive game and that he was kind of stacking better games together before he went out. So I hope he's okay and can get back, but I have my doubts because it didn't look great.
They said, oh,
no, I haven't seen anything at all about Julian so far.
this is my bugbear issue with him. As soon as he starts playing well, he's injured.
He did it last year too. He started playing really well and then got injured again.
It's Deshaunism. That's what I'm going to call it now, in honor of Hand. It's all the talent in the world, but never healthy.
Yeah. On offense, I mean, we haven't mentioned Amon-Ra yet, but what a game by him. He's unplayable. Like, he doesn't have that top end speed, but he's absolutely unplayable. Just excellent route running. He's very consistent. Incredible hands. PFF say that this is his 2nd best game as a Lion, just behind Green Bay Week 18 last year. So Green Bay Week 18, he got a 90.6 grade, and in this game he got an 89.8 grade. It's his 6th game with a PFF grade of above 80 in his young career. Except, I know that we all have the eye test for knowing that Amon-Ra is great, and I know people don't really believe in PFF, but to see him being so highly graded by an organisation like that, who sometimes just seem to be down on Lions for no good reason at all, it really does hammer home just what an absolute talent we have there. God, I will give him the world when he comes to a contract re-signing, which I guess he can probably do at the end of next season. He deserves all the money in the world. Other guy on offense.
Don't do it before you have to.
Other guy on offense that I want to give some props to, and I'm almost doing this through gritted teeth. He had one play. He had one play that I absolutely hated.
We're gonna riot if it's this person we're thinking of.
He had one play
Don't do it.
He had one play that I absolutely hated, and then he changed his mentality, and he actually decided that his career might be on the line, and decided to start putting the fucking hammer down.
Do it. Oh God, Oh no, it's fine.
DeAndre Swift.
Like, fuck for that.
DeAndre Swift. He caught the ball in the backfield and decided he'd hesitate and not manage to convert a 3rd down. And I thought, here we go again. Swift cannot do it anymore. His mind's just gone. He does not want contact, and you can't play this game at his position without it. And then the run up the middle for the touchdown, as it was called on the field, and then it was called back because his knee was just very slightly down. But he actually went for it like a bloody juggernaut, and he dragged a guy 5 yards back. I think it was Jordan Poyer. He took him to the cleaners, and it was so nice to see. And then he did a very similar thing again later on. We need to see more of that, but it's the first time that I've seen Swift turn the corner mentally this year. And if the Lions want to make a genuine run at the end of this season with a schedule which is very favourable, I'm not saying the Lions are going to do anything at the back end of this year, but beating the Jags next weekend, is going to go a long way towards doing that. And if Swift can actually be a weapon and can run with power as well as elusiveness, it stands us in exceptionally good stead when we have Williams and Swift acting like that. So more of that from Swift, please. I want to cycle back to Steve's question about quarterbacks. And I think I've said this before, but I just don't believe fundamentally in developing quarterbacks behind a starter. I don't like it. I really think that quarterbacks just learn best through taking active reps. And if you're going to take a 7th rounder who's just 3 or 4 years away from it, fine, okay, don't throw him to the wolves. But if you're talking about a guy that traditionally you might say, oh, we'll give him a year behind Goff and just develop him, get him ready, and then year 2 he can go. If you look at taking someone like KJ Jefferson, who Ant is a massive fan of, or Cam Ward, who I know Ant likes as well, but I'm a massive fan of, their floor is much higher than most average quarterbacks who are developmental, because their rushing ability gives them that sort of Mariota level of, okay, maybe the arm isn't quite there and reading the defenses isn't quite there, but you give him 3rd and 10 and you're like, well, he can convert this even with his legs. Like, he's going to risk converting this every single time he's on the field. And maybe you don't want to put this guy at risk too often, but as a young quarterback, not drafted in the first 2 rounds, round 3 and later, go out there, rush your ass off and try it with your arm if you can. And you'll still do quite well. Like, you look at what the Falcons are doing this year, and they're in amongst it in their division with Mariota as quarterback looking dross, but he's got something with his legs. Like, they're not using their receivers at all, even though they're good, and that team is still relevant this year. Take Cam Ward, take KJ Jefferson, bin off Goff, don't need him. Take the money, put players around these young guys and say, you know what, we're throwing you to the wolves a bit, and we're sorry for that. But our O-line is good. You're going to get all the protection that you could possibly want for a running quarterback, which is quite a good thing. So not running quarterback, but dual threat quarterback, which is quite a good platform to give them, and say, you'll work it out with your arm. Try to make easy decisions, short throws. If you see the deep ball and you want to go for it, then do, but be cautious. That's a perfectly reasonable route to go. I don't see the reason in sitting someone like KJ Jefferson or Cam Ward, because their ability means that floor is high. Because they can win with their legs. So I want to take one of those guys because they're going to come cheap in terms of draft capital, and you can put everything behind them, including $20 million that you get back from cutting off. If you want to bring in a vet guy behind him to teach him, then bring in someone on $2.5 million who's been around the league for a while. If you really want that, it doesn't have to be the starter. Why not make the young guy the starter and make the teacher the backup?
I kind of agree with you, Matt.
I mean, the thing is, if they actually work out, you've wasted a year of them on their rookie deal if they were actually going to be okay to begin with. All right. Fair enough.
Well, I'm not going, but you know my feelings, so I'm not exactly adding out new to the conversation here.
Yeah, that's fair.
I believe differently, but
yeah,
you know, no one's right.
No, that's fair enough. Anything else anyone wants to bring up from this game, or anything?
Yeah, when do we cam Brockers? I'm at the point now where I'm like, well, screw it. Why is he here? He's every week he's not there. I mean, Bugs is doing well. I mean, Benito's doing well. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm starting to struggle what to do with those two, because I know everyone's really high on getting another DT in the draft. I know everyone wants Jalen Carter and that, but I feel like Bugs and Benito are earning a place here in the long run the way they're playing. And I say that very reluctantly about Bugs, because everyone knows my views. I was never high on him. The tackling ability, the missed tackle rate, worryingly high, but both of them have played very admirably. And Alim McNeil is playing better because of them two. And Kamish. I kind of feel like we've got a logjam here at the minute. I'm starting to struggle to know what to do with the DT position because, like I say, I feel like we've got some really good depth guys in here now, and I kind of want to keep them. I mean, especially Kamish. I think Kamish was leading pressure guy again this weekend. What was it, 8? But Benito, Bugs, they're all bringing something to this rotation at the minute. So fuck Brockers off. I don't. Is it the cap that's causing too much problem with him? Because I swear we only take on, what is it, 4 dead from him. We
What,
save
right now?
7.
Right now,
I'm
Brockers.
pretty sure it's the same whether we do it now or at the end of the season. Still has permutations for next season, but you're just sort of doing it now. I'm
Brockers,
sure
if you cut him now, you save 4. So 4 is dead, and
and then about
3 is saved, and then
Yeah.
you roll on 4 into next season.
Is that right? That don't seem right.
So
is that spot track?
No, this is over the cap. So over the cap, the pre-June 1st cut figure is dead cap is 8 million with 1 million cap lost with cutting him. So we lose 1 million cap by cutting him. Roll that
Wait,
forward.
that's pre.
Yes, but the thing is, the pre and the post are the same. It's just
no. You're doing next season. You save loads by cutting Brockers. You don't lose by cutting him pre.
No. So it's exactly the same. So you lose one. The pre-June 1st says you lose 1 million in cap this year by cutting him, but it's not pre-June, it's post. But it's the exact same situation, just split across 2 cap years. So this year, post-June 1st, you save 3 million by cutting him, but 4 million is dead next year, net 1 million cap loss. It's the same situation, but split across 2 years. So it really just kind of doesn't matter at this point. You lose 1 million either way. The only difference is if you cut him now, you save 3 million this year, which you could spend in this year if you wanted to get a free agent in to do something else. But then that means you lose 4 next year. So.
But we lose 4 next year if we cut him anyhow, don't we? So.
But if we wait, we'll get that 3 million saving, and it ends up only being a net loss of 1. If you spend the 3 million
but if we don't spend the 3 this year, we get to roll over whatever we don't use this year, don't we?
Indeed, yeah. So it depends whether we spend it or not. If we don't spend it, then it makes no difference at all. If we do spend it, then it does make a difference because we don't have it next year. So it gives.
Well, I'm just at the point where I cut his ass now. I don't know why he's here.
Oh, I don't know why he's here. I don't want him here.
Benito, Bugs, and Kamish can work with Alim till the end of this season now. So I don't know. I just feel like at this point it's let's get chopping the wood. Let's get chopping the dead wood now. I know I'm not going to say there's any extra next year, but it's still we're going to have it at least.
I guess the only other thing is that you have to replace him with another person on the top 51, which means not only.
Well, JMO's about to come back, isn't he?
Sure. So we do need to actually get rid of someone. That is a fair point. I mean, Will Harris should be on the shopping block, surely.
And we might need to find room for Houston.
That's true. I mean, so I imagine that Julian Aquara is going to go on IR if he's got an injury, a bad injury, which it looked like he might do.
I don't know. I feel like the business should start getting done now. I mean, Amani's in here as well.
Any thoughts, Steve?
I mean, we need to keep. And I guess we've not really talked about this, but I mean, there is a mathematical possibility that we can make the playoffs. Do I think we're going to make the playoffs? No, I fucking don't. But, there is the possibility that our schedule certainly is softening massively. We don't know what's happening with other teams. So, there is a possibility that we do get somewhere near the playoffs, and we can't afford to bin off players like Amani. Unfortunately, I would love to because, he's thoroughly failed his audition, as has Harris, as has Aquara, as has Austin Bryant. I could go on. But we have to kind of hold a roster together and try and be competitive. I certainly want to beat the Bears again. I want to beat the Packers again, and I want to show the Vikings for the frauds they are. So that's the problem. It's finding the balance. But Brockers, cut him now.
So, in terms of the playoffs, it really depends what figure gets in. If it's 9 gets in, I think we're like 20% to get it. But if it's 8 gets in, which is possible, 8 and 9 is possible in the NFC, I think we've got a great shot of getting 8 wins. You telling me that we can't beat the Jags, because I really think we should win that game. You're telling me that we can't beat a Jets team that's just benched their starting quarterback. You're telling me that we can't beat Chicago, who are probably benching Justin Fields this weekend because they can't afford to play him because this season is lost and he's injured. You're telling me we
They've
can't
just elevated Nathan Peterman to the squad.
And you're telling me we can't beat a Packers team whose Aaron Rodgers has broken his finger or his thumb. So probably can't throw the ball. Like, we should beat all of those teams, and we're suddenly at 8 wins. We just need to nick one more for 9 if we win all the games we should win.
See, the thing is, the Jags one's critical. We saw how the team responded to losing late against the Vikings, and they were some ugly performances after that. So we've got to see if they've learned from that.
Yeah.
If the confidence goes again, then we could end up losing all those games as well. That's kind of where we're at the minute. We are a very confidence-based side because we are so young. When you're young, you ride and die by confidence. I mean, when you get this sort of older teams, the more experienced teams, they can kind of shrug a loss off and be a bit better, help the rookies through it. We're kind of not in that sitch at the minute. So the Jags one's kind of huge in regards to that. That'll tell us whether we can get in the playoffs or not. If you don't beat the Jags, then I think we can cool it. We could probably get a 5, 6, 7, but outside of that, no.
We should beat the Jags. We should give Minnesota a game at home. We should have beaten them away. We'll give them a game at home. The Jets we should beat. The Panthers we should beat. We should beat Chicago. We should beat Green Bay. That's 9 wins. Like, Carolina, I think, is one of the harder games on that schedule. At Carolina. Which is shocking. But they're a team we don't match up well against, which sucks. They're very, very good on the ground. So, anyway, we can talk more about that when it comes round. But Steve's saying playoffs. I just don't think it's stupid to even think about it. But Ant's absolutely right. It all hinges on Jacksonville because the momentum starts and ends there. And we'll talk more about that on Thursday, hopefully when we'll be joined by one of our Jags partners. We've had 2 in the past, so I'm hopeful we can nab one of them for that preview show on Thursday. I can't remember what the second one's called. Jags Across the Pond is the first guy we had. And then, is it just Jaguars UK? I think we might have had the second time round.
Yeah, Jags UK.
Jags UK. So we should have one of those 2 on with us on Thursday. Any comments you want to have, boys, at this point before we sign off?
No, only to say that, I don't think any Dan Campbell slander should be tolerated. I don't think this game was on him in any way, shape, or form, and I think we should be extremely proud of this team and where it is at. And yeah, this one was not on him, and I don't get why a lot of people went in and put a boot on him afterwards in it. I think he's developing just fine, like this team is, and yeah.
Packers are playing the Eagles. I think on Sunday night. I just want to see the Eagles absolutely massacre them, like properly tear strips off them. And I hope Rodgers just gets annihilated.
So say we all.
I can't root for them. After Tom rated us the other day, it's just like, I hope they do all right just for him, bless him.
Right, we're going to wrap that there. Next episode on the main podcast is going to be Thursday, December 1st as it stands. May change that, don't know. But I think at the moment, Thursday, December 1st. Jags preview show as the Lions look to get back to winning ways. College football podcast should round out November, though, the day before, Wednesday the 30th. Looking at week 13 and ahead to championship weekend, I'm guessing is week 14?
Yeah, we'll be doing a preview of the championship games. I'll do a review of this weekend, which I've no idea where I'm going to start. I've only watched the Egg Bowl, the Michigan game, and the Florida rivalry game so far. I still don't know where I'm going to rank the hell out of them all. They've all been amazing. So, yeah, there's going to be loads of good games to talk about. We'll preview the championship games, and I will find. I've got some Iowa players to scout, so doing some individual stuff for that. So, if there's any players you want scouting, any position groups you want scouting, let us know. Me and Ryan will do it. And we'll put the segments in the show for you. I think we've got Jack Campbell and Luke Van Ness, who both play for Iowa. So, yeah, tune in.
Our socials are Rural Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Group for Worldwide fans, Detroit Lions fans, UK One Pride Worldwide. The website where Ash's preview articles come out is rurallionsuk.com. Subscribe and rate us 5 stars and comments and all that sort of stuff below. Congratulations to Michigan for winning the Big Ten East they're in. For some reason, they always show the East on the left-hand side of the graphic and the West on the on the right-hand side of the graphic. Don't get but
I've always found with the Americans, they'll do it the reverse to how we do it. So that's the best way to do it, and it makes things a lot easier in life.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, the West, a complete and utter nuclear wasteland.
So is it Minnesota in now? Because Iowa lost, right? So they're below Minnesota.
They've got no, but Iowa have the head-to-head on Minnesota, so it's all
anyway, we'll get to that on the college show, but congrats to U of M. Congrats to Ant for making the prediction of a 3-score win and it coming good with Donovan Edwards running for... Donovan Edwards ran for 150 yards in the final 7 minutes of the game, which is just unbelievable. We'll get to that on Wednesday, but well done to them. To the Lions, we love you. Good game. Bring it back next Sunday. Get a dub, and let's get this ball rolling again. And let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Right. My girlfriend's sister is round, so I'm just going to go and say hello before she leaves. I don't know if you guys want to chat for a bit on stream because it's still live, obviously.
Live?
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it on.
I was just going to ask what happened with Tom Grossi because I missed that.
He raided us. So I don't know if you know the terminology, but basically, when he's on a big stream like his, you can like direct people to someone else's stream, and you get all your followers to go in and raid them. So we ended up having like 200 people watching us at once. Like all his followers were in, and he was actually in himself. Which was really cool because if you actually go onto his stream, he was actually listening as well. Because I've said many times about Tom, I started listening to him years ago. I love his shows and everything. Even though it's Packers stuff, he's still really good. And I was like there talking all this nice stuff about him. And he was actually sat there listening. And he's like, "Oh, that's so nice." He said, "This British guy's so nice." And it was like me. I was like, "It's so cool." It was kind of like a fanboy moment thing, but it were really fun.
Were his fans as respectful in the chat room?
They were actually. You know what? He's got a really pleasant community. He's got a really nice community. A lot of Lions fans in there, to be fair. He sort of picked up a lot of fans from other NFC teams who were like fed up with their own stuff, and they just go and listen to him. I know a few of his mods are Detroit Lions fans. There's a few I recognize from over the years. So, but yeah, it was fun. So we ended up having loads of views for that video, which was cool. And the sub count went up massively. Gone down a bit now, but I think we were at 648 when he came in, and we're at 687 now. So we're pushing up to 700.
Wow. It's good.
So we had a big boon in subs. It was like 690 something, so we've lost a few of them again, but oh well, it happens. We're pushing to 700 anyhow. We only need about 315 more. We reach 1,000. So fun times. Fun times.
And I think it's safe to say that Thanksgiving NFL football was a lot better than the World Cup week 1.
You know what? I've not even watched an England game yet. I've barely watched any football from the World Cup at all.
Absolute. I mean, I've kind of not really had the time or much motivation, but the England-USA game was horseshit. It was fucking awful.
Yeah, it was a great. I watched Iran-Wales yesterday. Don't know why. I think it was like first thing in the morning, so I was watching it while I was still in bed. But I thought Iran looked pretty good. I'm like, oh, people just said it was just Iran, but we stuck 6 past these and they actually looked pretty good. So Yeah, I don't know. My affinity to football has died a lot, but I don't even watch the World Cup no more.
Yeah. Well,
I did watch us today though. We won in the FA Cup today though. I enjoyed
very
that.
good.
We beat Wimbledon.
Very, very good. I am looking forward to hearing Ryan's tales, the Ryan McCluskey show of
New York.
how he got in New York. I cannot wait to hear his tales.
Lorraine has like I think she's been doing that like vlogging or whatever, where they like do loads of mini movies while they're away and stuff like that. So I think you'll see a lot of it through there.
Good stuff.
Which is quite funny. Yeah. Oh dear. You've been all right anyhow then.
Yeah, been all right. I've been good. I've not had a look at the chat today. Has there been much going on in the chat, or
There's loads. Anyone in the chat has got any questions, just ask us some college questions, Lions questions. I'm here for it. I was going to do a college live stream before this, but I thought I'm not going to push myself too much this week. I've done a lot, but no, loads of people in. Grandeyes is in, SW Lions in, Ken Stout is in, Joseph Austin is in. Oh, I love it. I'm just so happy about Michigan winning by 3 today. I've been literally for the last few months now. Well, is it a few months? Since Ohio State played Northwestern a few weeks back, and in the bad weather, and they barely were able to beat them. I said then and there, Michigan are winning by 3 scores. Even when Corum got injured, I'm like, nah, they're gonna beat them because they're just mentally and physically a lot tougher, a lot stronger. And you saw in this one, I don't know how much you watched, but Ohio State had them on the ring early. They had them on the ropes early on and could have landed a knockout blow early, and they just were not capable of it. They just didn't have the backbone to do it. Michigan got confidence from that, started slinging a few balls, and before you knew it, it was over. That's exactly what I thought looking at those two teams this year. So I'm really happy because people were going, "Oh, you're stupid! They're not going to win by 3 scores. It's going to be very close." It's like, no, it fucking wasn't.
you did say that you wanted CJ Stroud to be unmasked as fraudulent.
CJ Stroud is a fraud. I mean, he said he's been a 2-year starter in college now. Both years he's lost a big game to Michigan. Now, last year wasn't really his. I mean, oh no, he did the Aaron Rodgers. He blamed it on flu. You notice how Aaron Rodgers has been complaining about his thumb.
Never his fault.
That's funny because I said, you know what, Aaron Rodgers broke his thumb probably from sucking it, from losing all the time. It's like sucking on it, sulking. But yeah, he blamed it on flu last year. Although the defense sucked last year, and Michigan ran all over them. But this year, he's got no excuses. That defense is a bit better, but he's just got all the weapons in the world. At receiver, at running back, he was lacking, but so was JJ McCarthy. Basically, all the good running backs in this game were injured. And JJ, the other one, Edwards, he's in a hand cast. Still ran for 130 yards, bless him. But yeah, when it's come to the crunch, CJ Stroud has failed at college level. He'll come out of college with no playoff appearances. The only 2 big games he's ever been in for the conference title, he's failed at. I just don't use a first overall pick on a guy like that. I don't use a high draft pick on a guy like that. He throws lots of touchdown passes, and everyone goes, look at all the touchdown passes. It's about 40, but the receivers, man, the amount of separation they get. Last year, he's throwing to Chris Olave, who's like offensive rookie of the year this year. Garrett Wilson, who's had an amazing year with the Jets, and Smith and Jigba, who was coming into this season the highest rated wide receiver prospect in this draft in the class. And this year, he's had Marvin Harrison breakout, who's been tipped to been like one of the top wide receivers in the entire NFL in 5 years' time. They said that's what his ceiling is. And Ibuka, the other one who got a touchdown today, he's crazy good. It's just like he's got such a swathe of weapons there that he just throws into empty gaps all the time. I just don't trust him when he's on a team that doesn't have that weaponry, where he's got to rely on his innate skill to make other guys better. I feel justified again. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just glad. I got it right. I managed to work these teams out. So it is what it is. It's fun.
The only bit of college football I've been able to watch this week is the Florida State game.
Oh, that was
And
class.
Florida State have got quite a young QB there.
Steve, don't do this to me. Don't side with Ash. No, George.
He looked amazing.
Oh, the play where he got out of about 6 sacks on one play. Yeah. He's been really good this year, Trade. I gave Ash so much hammer because for the last few years, he's been awful. When I say awful, he's not been great. And coming into this year, I sort of got the cocky and gave Ash a load of tap, but in fairness, he turned round and gave me gave a really good performance this year. They've won 9 games, so but yeah, please don't side with Ash over that, or I'll never ever hear the end of it. Grandizer says, Steve, give him your favourite Smiths or Morrissey song if you like either of them. But I'm not sure. I don't know whether I feel like that's too mainstream for you.
Yeah, like when the Smiths were going on, I was very much listening to hip hop. But I do think they've got some great songs, and probably How Soon Is Now is probably my favourite Smith song.
There we go. Hope you like that one, guy, Grandizer.
Unfortunately, their lead singer is now an absolute bellend, which
Morrissey
besmirched their record. But yeah, How Soon Is Now? What difference does it make? It's a great song. Yeah.
Oh dear. Maniac Sports says, "Good pick, Anthony." Yeah, thank you. I'm quite. I'll get millions wrong, but yeah, got that one right. Joseph said one somewhere. Where's it gone? I've gone too far. What do you think of Max Duggan? Thinking the Lions pick a QB late in the draft. Max Duggan is a very good quarterback, TCU guy. A lot of questions coming out about him this year, whether he was just a running quarterback or not. But well, as you've seen with TCU this year, unbeaten. Him, Kendre Miller, the running back, and Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver, have been such a trio in there. And as I'm saying this, TCU are 24-0 up against Iowa State, and it's only just the start of the second quarter. So this TCU team have been so fun to watch. I've watched their games every single week, partly because of Quentin Johnston. If you want a receiver, Joseph, he's the best X receiver in this draft. So if you want to put an X receiver out wide to go with Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams, he's the guy. You'd have to spend a first round pick on him, but trust me, you'd be like a kid in a candy shop having those 3 at wide receiver next year. Just be greedy. Go for all the sweets. You know, who needs 2 good receivers when you can have 3 damn good receivers? It's sort of one of my guilty pleasures of the draft. He is. I would 100% spend a first on him and put him out there. Whereas if I was more sensible and waited till later, it'd be Puka Nacua, the BYU guy. He is Amon-Ra St. Brown, but an outside receiver version of Amon-Ra St. Brown, in that he blocks heavy first, but he's a damn good outside receiver. I'm going to do more on him because if you want a receiver in this draft, he should be like the one that you really want. He's a complete Amon-Ra mold, but just an outside guy, not a slot receiver. Oh dear.
So have we worked out who's winning the Big Ten West?
It's Purdue.
So
Purdue have got it.
Purdue
have got to win.
Purdue are losing to Indiana 7-3.
Yeah, it's either Purdue or Illinois.
And Illinois is 17-0 up against Northwestern, but Illinois lost to Purdue, which means Purdue have the head-to-head. And Purdue also beat Minnesota. So
I did a thing about this on the college pod earlier this week. There's so much information.
There's so much information to take in that I just don't. So Big Ten West winners.
No, so what it is if Purdue lose, Iowa get it, because right now Purdue are on top of Iowa because they have less conference losses.
Yeah.
However, if they lose, they move on to same conference losses and it moves to head to head.
Yeah.
Iowa hold the head to head over Purdue, I believe.
I was just looking at it. Hang on.
I'm pretty sure I got burnt by this earlier in the season. Yeah, Iowa beat Purdue 24-3 because I bet on Purdue for that one.
But hang on,
So,
didn't Illinois beat Iowa? And if Illinois win their game, they're all equal on overall records and conference wins and losses. So
I don't know.
surely
It'll be on
it's a three-way tie.
Sickos.
Yeah.
It'll be on Sickos committee.
Yeah.
All I know is if Purdue win, they control their own destiny. Purdue do. Everyone else is relying on others.
Mm.
Personally, with it being Michigan, I'd like to see it be Illinois again because Illinois gave them problems last time. And plus, I love Devin Weatherspoon. I want to see him in a championship game, so more people can see him. I know people love Joey Porter Jr. and I get it. I love Joey Porter Jr. myself, but I don't know. I have this sneaking suspicion. I think Devin Witherspoon's better, and I think he's what the Lions need. He is the man coverage corner of this draft. He is the best man coverage corner in this draft. And for me, the Lions need a great man coverage corner to complement what we have here right now. So I, from a selfish point of view, want to see Witherspoon in it. So I want to see Illinois do it. But I'm also a big Aidan O'Connell fan, so I'd like to see Purdue in there as well. But Purdue will get their asses kicked by Michigan. Illinois' defense is the only unit because you're trying to look for a good matchup. Because last year, I don't want to see Michigan and Iowa again. Illinois are good enough on offense to be able to put up enough points that their defense can quite happily defend against Michigan. You saw in the last game, it was just not enough. But Chase Brown I want Chase Brown to get a big feature as well. This Illini team is stacked full of potential draft talent, especially on defense. It's the third best defense in the nation for a reason. So I would like to see Illinois do it, but whatever happens, happens.
Oregon down to Oregon State.
I bet on Oregon. I bet on Oregon State. I told you all. I try and warn you. Oregon State are a sneaky good team this year. They've won 8 games. It's not. This isn't the Oregon State side that we saw when we drafted Jamar, because we did tape with them. This is a completely different Oregon State side to them. It's really good. Again, it's good defensively. It's got just what it needs on offense. It's at home. It's rivalry week. Everything goes out the equation. And Oregon is struggling for something to play for now. So I did warn you. I've got it on, actually. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Steve's got himself in there. Stop Me. I like Stop Me. It's a great song.
I don't really know much about anything really, so don't come to me about it.
We need to sort of sync a week up off Steve, and we need to just spend a week, take Matt somewhere and culture him up a bit.
I'm not sure a week could be enough.
Well, no, but it's a start.
Well, I feel like the 2024 NFL draft on our off days could be a good way of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that could.
I mean, apart from touring Michigan a bit.
Yeah.
Or going to the LNU studios to do the podcast. I'm kind of semi-adamant that we get some sort of rental car between us, because I don't think that we'll be able to get about Michigan easily if it's quite a lot of us without one car. And then tour about all the places around Metro Detroit that we can. And continue to try and do the podcast and live stream from where they do their normal one for LNU, because I'm hoping that they'd allow us access to their facilities.
I'm going to start worrying about this upcoming draft first. I've just literally started my first notebook today. Like my big, thick things, not even my smart. It's not around it at the minute. But my big, thick A4 folder type things. I'll have 3 of them, maybe 4 by the time the draft comes around. I wrote my first page today. Like, oh God.
I can't wait to do some of the rookie tape reviews. That's going to be really cool.
Trying to sort out the running back class is hard enough. I really want the running back. And there are lots of good running backs.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, Chase Brown might go like day 3, top of day 3, and that's going to be a steal for someone. There's too many, Ant. There's too many to go day 1 and day 2. Someone's got to fall.
Yeah, but the only trouble is, you know, if you start leaving them till the end, someone's going to start getting a jump on you. And plus, if you're going to get a running back like us, you know, running's key to our game. So you want to make sure you get your guy, and just sitting there waiting, hoping that he carries on falling is a risky strategy. So I think, because Bijan's going to go early, Jameer's going to go early, and then after that it's a free-for-all. I think people are going to start going earlier than we think. I get that feeling because there's a lot of very talented running backs who are going to be worthy of day 2 picks.
I think the draft dudes on the Draft Network had what might be the most angry I will ever see you, Anne, if I tell you what their top 2 picks for us were, which was Brian Brzee.
Oh, let me guess. Yeah, Brian Brzee.
And then
let me guess. It's the corner who got him saying crocked.
Nope. Nope.
Kelly Ringo?
Nope. It wasn't a corner.
That's not a bad pick.
Oh
no, who were the 2 that got injured in very quick succession?
It wasn't an injury-related person, but we were picking 4 and we were picking 14 or something like that in this mock. It was something like that anyway, 4 and 13. So we took Brzee. No, sorry, 5 and 13. I think it was. So we took Brzee at 5. The top 4 was Stroud, Young, Anderson, and Carter. So you were choosing it like. It's a shit sandwich at 5 at that point. But anyway, 14 was the more interesting pick. Or 13. They chose for us Bijan. 13.
Running back.
Yeah. Which I'd low-key be really excited about it, but I'd also hate it.
See, the thing about Bijan is he is a legit potential generational talent. And that's the problem. Like Matt says, I subconsciously like it. For this team, absolutely not. I would be on the streams for days pissed at us doing it. But deep down, like in the depths of my soul,
just a little bit, like, yeah.
Seeing him on the field would get me going. So there are worse. Breezy, though, no. He's not even the best D lineman on his own team. Not picking him at 5.
I would rather go Miles Murphy if I was given a choice between the 2 for sure. But
I
think not going corner with one of the top 2 picks we have is egregious unless the Rams lose out. And I think there is a chance the Rams lose out.
Well, that's the interesting question then. If they lose out too high, what happens? I'm not sure they're sold on a quarterback. Yeah.
Trade down, I guess. If you start at 1 and then trade down.
What I want most, because the Bears are in full tank mode now, if the Rams could get themselves in front of the Bears, that would make my day. Because I would ask every single team in the league what they're offering for the Bears pick at 3. It's like, right, offer me that and I'll take it instead. And I'll put the Bears over instead. Because the Bears seem to be at the point where they're like, we're going to trade our pick for a king's ransom and we're going to get 1 billion picks and we're going to be a good team next year. Honestly, the delusion in that fan base is crazy, but if we could get in front of them, we could potentially cut their entire draft, and that just for me would mean everything.
I need to get going, but before I go, can I read out the Rams' remaining schedule?
Yeah, go for it.
The Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Raiders, the Packers, the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Seahawks. So basically, they've got the Raiders and the Broncos, who I think they've got a good chance of beating, and pretty much all the other games. I mean, Packers. I think the Packers will beat the Rams. They could end up on 6-11 easily.
I mean, what happens if they shut Stafford down for the year? Because apparently that is on the table.
I hope he retires. I mean, I'm not just for selfish that, but obviously he's been here for years. You sort of invested in him, his family, his kids. You don't want to see them suffer because he has injuries and stuff like that. I'd just rather he's had his fairy tale moment.
Got
He
nothing
can
else to play
retire
for.
now. No, he can retire now. Take his ring home with him. Got his 4 beautiful daughters, his wife. He's got his health. Go be with them. Go enjoy yourself, man.
To be honest, can you even bank on the fact that he's got his health anymore? Like, that you're not making your health worse? Because, like, the amount of hits he's taken through his career, he's going to have issues later in life.
Oh, yeah.
At this moment in time, you can already say that about Matthew Stafford. So, count your blessings and say, I've had a great time, I've won a Super Bowl, which is more than 95% of quarterbacks can say in the league, and go. I agree with that. But just in general, I don't believe Stafford's going to do that, actually. I thought he might, and I'm like, no, I know who Matthew Stafford is. He's a warrior who just absolutely loves football. So he's going to come back. But they might shut him down for this season, because it's a lost season, and there's no point in risking him the rest of the year. And if they shut him down, why are the Raiders not going to beat them? Why are the Broncos not going to beat them? I know they're both shockingly bad teams, but they can't be worse than the Rams with a backup QB. And how many offensive linemen have they lost this year? Is it in double digits now? It might be double digits of offensive linemen they've lost. So
they've just got no one left.
Loads, and they've got no picks left to pick a quarterback. They're going to have to go with one of the project guys this year. So it's going to be interesting. Because, their picks are just gone to the wind.
Yeah.
They're going to have this. All right, see you, Steve.
Get going.
Cheers, Steve. Oh,
this is so good.
So the Rams, Grandize has just put it in the chat, and thanks to him for supporting us as he always does. At Kansas, Seattle, Vegas, at Green Bay, Denver, at Chargers, at Seattle. At home to Denver, at home to Vegas do seem, as Steve was saying, like winnable games. I don't think they beat Seattle home or away. But the thing is about Vegas is you can't count that team out. I know they've been dire this year, but Carr and Adams and Renfro, if he's playing, which actually I think he might be injured. I can't remember. Waller's had a down year, but like, it's not a terrible team. They're a just about sub 500 team that have just had things go against them this year as much as anything. But they're not awful, the Raiders. Like, they were a playoff team last year and nothing's really changed.
Yeah, true.
And Denver, I mean, that defense is legit. Like, that defense is going to ruin the Rams with no offensive linemen. Like, someone needs to make to me a case for why the Rams are going to win any more games.
I doubt it. They are going to struggle.
And they're 3-7. I think Carolina have 2 wins, or do they have 3? I think Carolina have 3. So is it just it's the Houston Texans on 1 win, 1 tie, and then everyone else is 3 wins? Is that right?
Yeah.
So why can't Houston win 2 games and the Rams are number 1 overall?
Houston are fucking awful. I doubt they win 1 more.
I know that they've benched the quarterback, but
it doesn't matter. Quarterback's not the issue for me, anyhow. I don't think he is. I think the O-line's trash. I don't think the offensive weapons there are that great. I mean, they've got bits, but they are the epitome of a number 1 team. They are just incredibly awful. and they will probably take a quarterback. Bryce is probably going to go there at some stage. Bless him. Though, to be honest, it could be a good place for him to go, actually. He's a very, very tough quarterback, Bryce Young is, and he's going to need to be going to Houston, especially with them so far into a build. Well, they're so far down in terms of the depths of a build. They got a long way to go yet.
I'm just looking at the entire league at the moment. The Jags are the lowest team with a positive point differential. They're 3-7, but they're plus 11 in point differential. How nuts is that? They must have blown some man out or a few people out and lost a lot of close games. Maybe this game is not as easy as I think it's going to be.
No. Isn't it crazy, though? One win at this stage of the season can take you from picking second in the draft to 14th.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
There's so many teams in between and whatnot here.
And if you look at the teams above the Lions right now, the Colts, the Falcons, the Bucks, the Commanders who we've beaten, the Pats, the Seahawks and Jets, the Giants who we've beaten, the Titans who we all think are frauds, the Vikings who we should have beaten. There's a lot of teams up there. The Eagles who we hung with majority of that game. The league is so close together when you have a team like Detroit who are just plucky and work hard, because this team instead of being 4-7 could easily be 7-4. I know that at the end of the day the results matter, but like when you look at roster building, when you look at how a team is doing, for me you've got to try and take the luck out of it and just go, where could they be? Because if they could be really high, and maybe the execution just hasn't quite got there, that's more on coaching than drafting. Like, I look at Holmes, and I look at how well this team has done against some of the better teams in the league, and I think, you've got us there, mate. Like, this team is so far away from what it was last year.
I think, yes. But I think it's just a part of natural progression as well. It's just a lot of the younger players are stepping up and doing their work. Amon-Ra's got even better. Aleem's playing better. Barnes playing better.
I can't believe that Amon-Ra's got better as well from being one of the best rookie receivers of all time.
His ceiling right now is scary.
So scary.
It's very scary. I don't think he's not even scratched it yet. But I think
I can't even remember.
And the worst part is that he's not really even had. It's not been disingenuous to people around him, but he's not had the genuine, bona fide stud threats in there with him who take away all that attention from other teams. I mean, what's it going to be like when Jameson's in there?
Yeah.
I mean, those linebackers in coverage in the middle who are trying to deal with him are not going to be getting no safety help or anything like that when JMO's on the field. They can't afford to come up and help the linebacker when you've got the threat of that caliber there. I think there'll be another receiver coming in the draft. I fully believe that, and I think you're going to have to start accounting for these guys. So I think Amon-Ra's only just began to scratch what he can do here.
I do wonder what's going to happen when we get rid of Goff, because I think that for someone like Amon-Ra, he's going to benefit from a quarterback like Goff more than almost anyone else. If you get a legitimately good quarterback who can make all the throws, who you have confidence, who likes to gunsling a bit, I think you'll see Amon-Ra take a step back. Like, the chemistry that Goff and Amon-Ra have is actually exceptionally good.
I feel like he'll adapt. I think, for me, I reckon Amon-Ra is the type who adapts to the play. At this minute, he does the dink and dunk stuff. He does all the middle of the field stuff, gives the easy outs. But who knows? Maybe when he knows there's a guy who can do the more complex stuff, he can start doing other bits with his game and whatnot. You could still use him in the backfield more. There's still plenty of things you can do with him, as and when.
So, at the moment, he is on...
For every single quarterback, any quarterback in the history of the game, I think I could say this, would love to have a quarterback right in front of him on the middle of the field who's open like he is.
Yeah.
I think that will always be a necessity. Doesn't matter whether it's a Bailey Zappi type who's an air raid guy who's always looking to chuck it 30 yards downfield. Every quarterback loves the guy open in front of him on the field where he could just get rid of it sometimes. So there'll always be a need for guys like Amon-Ra.
Grandize has just put in the chat the Texans' remaining schedule: at Miami versus Cleveland, at Dallas versus Kansas City, at Tennessee versus Jacksonville, at Indy. And I've just said they could beat at home to Cleveland, away at Tennessee, at home to Jacksonville, and away at Indy. Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee are 3 games where I find it really hard to call, even with Houston, that it's definitely going to go against Houston. Like, Houston are trash, but you're telling me that Jacksonville aren't trash, that Tennessee can't fall apart at any moment, that Indy are any fragment of a sense of an NFL team. Like, Houston are in disarray, but, like, for some large part, they're staying together as a team, whereas sometimes, like, Indy are falling apart, or Tennessee, if King Henry can't get going, don't look like themselves. I could see him nicking 1 or 2.
Maybe. I don't know. It depends, because at the rate we're going, it doesn't. I kind of only care about draft position if we're still up at like 6 or 7, and it sort of shakes in our favour. But
I only want it for the Rams. I don't care about it in general. But if Houston can knock off a few games and the Rams can lose out, and we get number 1 overall and the playoffs,
all I know
is very happy.
All I know is we're in dreamland with where we're at the minute. A young team allowed to win games because someone's doing the losing for us. It's very rare you can put yourself in that sort of situation where the whole winning game aspect can just be completely ignored because someone else will do it for you. Now people will argue, oh, we could have 2 top 5 picks. Screw that. I don't care about that.
I don't care about that. If we can pick 1 or 2 and 25, that's fine.
See, if we got to 2 or 3, I would happily trade it away in a heartbeat to someone who is quarterback needy. Because I play 3D chess here, I think there are good quarterbacks later in the draft who you can go and get. And for a team like us, we need more picks. And I think you can get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
Bryce is off the board, then all of a sudden, Bryce is the only one I care about taking early. The only one.
Would you do it? If you were picking 2 and the Texans went Stroud, would you?
I would pick Bryce in a heartbeat. I would pick Bryce in a heartbeat. And he is the only quarterback I would do it in this draft for. I wouldn't consider anybody else with that pick. Not even close. Because I want a starter if I'm going to do that. I want a starter. And no one else has the potential to be a starter right away but him. To be honest, I love Bryce's fit for Detroit. I mean, you've seen him play, how hard he plays. The man takes hits, he gets back up. He is, Detroit in a way. The way he takes hits, the way that he gets up, the way he still makes plays, and the way that he's still being able to carry that team to an air of respectability with much lesser weapons than CJ Stroud. Everyone puts the box figures up. Look how many touchdowns CJ Stroud's got. Bryce Young doesn't have that many. Look at who he's throwing to. I've said it many times. He's got nobody there. Latu, the tight end, is all right. I actually quite like him, but when it comes to your receivers, who can name an Alabama wide receiver this year? Not many casuals will name you an Alabama wide receiver because there aren't any. Really good ones. None that are going in the first round. No first-round talent there. The offensive line is not what it has been in recent years. There's no Evan Neal anchoring at left tackle there this year doing the business for him. Whereas CJ Stroud had 3 first-round picks to throw out last year, and he's got 3 future first-round picks to throw out this season. It's just been a never-ending conveyor belt of talent for him to work with, whereas Bryce has worked with all the odds against him, which sounds weird for a Bama team, but in comparison, he has. And he's only lost 1 more game than Stroud's lost this year now. It's
I'm
like
I'm,
there's
I'm
not much
looking through the
difference.
list of people who've made catches in the current game between Alabama and Auburn. I've heard of one of them, but I definitely wouldn't have been able to tell you his name before I looked it up, and that's Jermaine Burton. The rest of them, Jackery Brooks, Kendrick Law, Trayshawn Holden, Robbie Oots, Isaiah Bond, and then you've got the two running backs in McClellan and Gibbs. And I'm high on McClellan.
Obviously,
I
you
think
got
he'll be
Gibbs.
big. But who are all these people?
Exactly.
Burton's the only one I've even
And
heard of as a whisper.
and his SEC schedule's a lot damn harder than Ohio State's Big Ten schedule. Damn sight harder. I mean, Bryce's crowning game was that Tennessee game. They hit him so many times. You're at Tennessee, you're in a hostile road environment against the team that's the form team in the country. And you help your team drop 49 on him. Yes, Jahmyr Gibbs helped as well. Jahmyr Gibbs was big in that game, but it all runs through the quarterback. All does. So if he's there when we would pick early with the Rams, then I would take him in a heartbeat. If not, trade it. Trade it, trade it, trade it, trade it, trade it. Preferably to someone who'll screw the Bears over.
So Grandize is just theorizing on what's happening for the Lions if they make the playoffs. So I'm trying to make the case. If the Lions sneak in at the 7 seed, Lions sneak in at 7. That means they're facing the 2 seed. The 2 seed at the moment is likely to be one of Philly if Minnesota get there. But if we get in the 7 seed, we might have beaten Minnesota, so I don't know. But it's Philly, Minnesota, or San Francisco, maybe, is the 2 seed. I don't hate any of those matchups, really. We hung with Philly a bit, but that kind of sucks. Minnesota, if we get in and they're the 2 seed, we might have beaten them already. We should have beaten them in the first game. I'd relish that matchup. And if we're playing San Francisco, I think that's horrible, but
I don't like San Francisco's defense. It's elite and it wins games and it can strangle the hell out of you. I would sooner play the Eagles defense again before I played the San Francisco 49ers defense. I mean, for me, that 49ers defense is the most elite unit in football. Like either side of the ball, just all over. It's oozing with talent. And it's very well coached. I mean, Jimmy G just has to be a game manager there. And he does his job. Although in fairness, you know what? Don't know whether you can call it a comeback, but I'd have Jimmy in comeback player of the year contention at the minute, the way he's playing. I know it's not technically a comeback, but they benched him and they were ready to trade his ass and move on and cut him, etc. I would have him in that conversation. I just don't want to play that Rams team, the 49ers team.
I don't hate that take about Jimmy G being comeback player of the year. If you're benched and you come in as the
you're told that
quarterback,
you're leaving, you tell them all that you're leaving and you're done.
It's a heck of a comeback. I'm right there with you. Let's have a look at the NFC, or it could be Dallas. Again, I don't hate that matchup. I know that we lost to them earlier on in the year. We did, didn't we? I'm not going mad. We've lost to them already, right?
Grandizer just wants us to face the Vikings if they're the 2 seed, so we can do more shows with Jade.
Yeah, true. Who else is in that mix? Who could get the 2 seeds?
Let's not do this to ourselves, Matt. Let's talk happy draft scenarios rather than potential playoff scenarios.
I'm just relishing the fact that we can even talk about it going into December.
Oh yeah, I thought at the start of November we could stop talking about the season, and it's just like that's depressing. We can't even reach November without season being dead.
This is the first time we've reached December and we've not been dead for years. Like, it's great. I love it.
It is crazy. There's so many teams with meh records.
So, one thing I want to do, I want to run this past you, and I want to run it past our Discord, actually, is I want to take the NFL's consensus top 32 players. So let's say from mockdraftdatabase.com. take the 32 players that have the consensus top 32 picks, and then you have to give a range of 10 picks, or let's say 9 picks, because then it makes number 5 the even money, where you think that player will actually go with the midpoint.
Wait, what?
So for the top 32 players, as it stands in mock draft database, not right now, but nearer the draft,
Yeah.
for each player, you have to predict where you think that player will actually go. And you get a
Okay.
range of 9 picks to choose from. So you could say, I think this player is going to go between 23 and 31. And so the midpoint is 28. And if you get it bang on 28, you get like 10 points. And it kind of goes down. And then for each one that you're missing by outside of that range, you lose points. And you do that for all of the top round, the first round predicted players on mock draft database. Because there's players at the moment like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's at 17. And so if you said, okay, I'm going to pick 17 as my midpoint, so I get 12 to 20 is my range. And if you get it in 12 to 20, you're in positive. And if it's outside of that range, then you start losing points in a formula I'll work out. But that's the vague idea of it.
I'd be picking about 30 to 40 for him at the minute.
So I'm with you. I think that if I had to pick for him right now, I'd choose my midpoint as maybe
PSN's all the way gone.
34. I think I'll go 34, and then so I gain points if he goes 29 to 35 or something. And like, because the thing is, try and pick one, or maybe I give the people the range myself and just say pick the midpoint of where you think that player goes, and I'll work out the rest. But like, I think
It
it's
feels
kind
like
of
it needs a little bit of refining.
okay. So for the top 30, first round's 31 players, isn't it? For the top 31 players,
Yeah,
pick the
Dolphins are
actual draft
forfeited one.
position.
I mean, it's still. I don't think they just miss out the number, don't they?
Yeah, they just miss out the number for the Miami pick that's been forfeited.
It's 24 at the minute. They should let teams bid on it.
That would be fun. That would be
For
good.
$80 million, you get an extra first round pick.
And it goes to charity. I wouldn't hate that.
That's just to paying Deshaun Watson's legal fees.
Yeah, just massage that one out. No, so it's I guess a bit of a. We normally do like a first round predictor, and while I think that's good, I think it's more fun to look at what the media think will be the top 31 players, and then actually predict where they go, rather than.
I'd rather try and predict the team they go to.
Oh yeah, well that's always the key as well, isn't it? I mean, so you've got the guys on TDN who are convinced that Tyree Wilson is a Seahawk, just a Seahawk in waiting. So whenever they get the chance, Wilson goes to the Seahawks because apparently.
In fairness, I told you, what was it, 2 years ago, that Najee Harris was a Steeler,
Yeah, you
months in advance.
You did.
There is something to that. I mean, who would be my one this year?
What for someone to anywhere? You mean just the best fit for a team?
I'm trying to think who my initial comp this year would be for someone who'd go out of.
Okay, so who's the man corner you keep going on about? Is it Cam Smith?
Devin Witherspoon.
Oh, Devin Witherspoon. So what about Witherspoon to the Patriots then?
No, you know what? I dare to say it, but I feel like Witherspoon might be the Lions type, specifically because, not just because we got Joseph from there, but generally when teams pick players, they're picking the players, but they're also factoring into account the schemes that this player learns by, the guys were there, what they're learning, how they're learning. It's like Illinois, ball hawkism, trying to get the ball, making interceptions. That is a big part of the way they play down there. It's trying to create turnovers, and you can see it with the way Kirby plays. He's very instinctual. When he's on the ball, he's a ball hawk. And that's how they teach their secondary to play. They teach them to, how to read the quarterback, how to pick off those, how to get turnovers. A guy like Devon, he's a good man coverage corner, but he's also in that same vein. He's really good when the ball is in the air, tracking it, breaking up passes, reading the routes. It's how they develop them at that school. So I would think that Devon would be right up their rally. It's not just as simple as saying they're from the same place, but schematically, they learn the same things. And if you can develop those traits in Kirby, you can develop those traits in him as well. And plus, he's an exact fit for us.
Yeah, I hear you. I
I mean,
need
who
you
did I
to.
call for the Pats last year? I did call someone for the Pats last year, but they didn't draft them, did I? I called a guard.
So they drafted Cole Strange, but you probably.
But I did guess a guard there.
Yeah, you did.
But I was really set on them getting him. I mean, we should still have our mocks up from last year, shouldn't we?
So I need you to save me from myself in terms of the comment from Vincent Bridgens, Stop Smoking Specialist, about Sam Hartman. Where do you think he goes? And I'll have a look at 2022.
Sam Hartman, the Wake Forest quarterback. I'm not sure.
I've said round 6, round 7 is where I think he's going to go.
Sam's in Bailey Zappi territory, as in the Sam loves to air the ball out. That Wake Forest offense has been fierce for years, and it's put up so many points. It's just he's never had a defense to go with it, but he's sort of more of the school of air raid. So you would look towards a team who love to play expansive three-throwing football, explosive, as it were. In terms of the draft, I don't know. Me and Ryan have both, we've chatted about this on the college pod, and we have no idea where you can sort of get a feel for where someone's going to go in a draft, but I just don't know how highly people rate his intangibles. He's another who's old. I say he's like 24, so age is not on his side for this one. So that's going to work against him and move him down boards a bit. But is he starter potential for somebody? I don't think he's starter right away potential. So he's a developmental guy who's a little bit older. So where do they tend to go unless they're legitimately special, like Hendon Hooker would have been? I mean, I'm trying to think of the comps for quarterbacks last year. Where did Zappi?
Zappi went round 4 to the Pats, but that was widely regarded as overdrafting.
It was, and the Patriots did overdraft a lot, but I could also understand why. But I mean, the only trouble is he's younger.
Yeah.
So I guess you can work on that a bit. I would be in day 3 territory for Sam Hartman.
So I said round 6, round 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to UDFA.
I wouldn't either. And I don't think it's a slight on him. I really don't. But I think when you get to that late in the draft, teams will wait for you to go undrafted and then get you rather than draft you. There's not many quarterbacks taken. I think, there was Mr. Irrelevant last year, wasn't there? And there wasn't very many quarterbacks taken before that. I think the only who was there? There was who was the one I loved from Brown?
EJ Perry.
EJ Perry got drafted. I'm sure he did, but I'm sure he got drafted late.
EJ Perry, didn't he go to the?
Or was he undrafted?
Was he? Went to the... I thought he went to the Jags.
I think he went to the Jags. I swear they picked a late round pick on him. But yeah, generally day 3 people don't buy you. So,
Mr. Irrelevant was Brock Purdy to the 49ers.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I mean, Mr. Irrelevant. I think he was the only quarterback
who
went.
Was it EJ Perry or was it Skylar Thompson you liked? It was EJ Perry.
Oh, it was Skylar who got. Oh no, Skylar was undrafted, wasn't he?
No, Skylar went to the Dolphins, drafted at 247. I'm looking at
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Skylar. So yeah, Sam Hartman's in that sort of territory.
Okay,
but he's incredibly talented, and I really do like him.
In terms of the guards to the Pats, let me read off the top interior offensive linemen per mock draft database for the 2022 NFL Draft. Zion Johnson, Tyler Linderbaum, Kenyon Green, Dylan Parham, Jamari Sawyer, Sean Ryan, Cole Strange, Cam Jurgens, Ed Ingram, Luke Gadecki, Luke Fortner, Zach Tom, Marquis Hayes. Any of those ringing a bell?
I definitely said I know I definitely said guard. I got that right because I was scoffed at for saying guard. But
Donovan West, Lycitus Smith,
I'm pretty
Chris
sure it
Paul,
was
Thayer
Kenyon.
Mayford.
I'm pretty sure it was Kenyon Green. I kept. He was the Texas A&M guard.
Yeah, he was.
I'm pretty sure when we were mocking him.
So I could have seen Zion there. Zion would have been a good pick, but he obviously went a bit earlier.
I had Zion to the Chargers. Zion was always my top guard, and
Yeah, by far.
he was there
Really
afterwards.
good pick.
That's interesting this year because obviously Osiris Torrance is the top guard this year.
Is
And
he?
I
That's
have
news to me.
I have a sneaky feeling. He is in my book anyhow. I have a sneaky feeling that the Lions are very interested in him. And I have a sneaky feeling that they have every right to be interested in him.
So he is the top guard on Mock Draft Database, 31 from Florida, Osiris Torrance.
And he is a natural right guard, which is what
we need.
require. I love him. But the trouble is, I'm not sure we're going to be in range for him unless he slips into the second. But for me, him being the outstanding guy, he would be kind of the one. Oh no, I gave a corner to the Patriots. Oh, screw that. Got that wrong. I think they're interested in Osiris Torrance. Have you seen him?
I haven't yet, no.
I would implore you watch him play. He is a fucking monster. Yeah, especially in the run game.
So the other interior guys are John Michael Schmitz, who is getting drafted in the first round now by some people that I have listened to and seen, and Andrew Voorhees, who I quite like, who I have seen at USC. I quite like him. He's projected to be a top of round 3 pick at the moment. Then you've got Cedric Van Pan at 105 and other recognisable names. There's not a lot of guards on here.
Torrance is on an island on his own, for me personally.
Fair enough.
But I feel like that's not a very hot take.
I think you'd be surprised.
But I'm just very wary. I remember the last time that we went to Florida for our first 2 picks in the draft, because I'm well aware that Richardson's on this. As much as I don't want to admit it, I'm well aware Richardson is on their agenda.
Yeah.
But that would be your top 2 picks. And, we all remember the last time we picked from Florida with our top 2 picks. And we don't want to remember that. So
part of me doesn't want to commit to Richardson just because, despite what I said about rookie quarterbacks and wanting to play them straight away, Richardson's one of the ones I would actually want to sit.
I would 100% want him to keep another year in college.
Yeah, I
hope he decides to go back. I hope he decides to go back and that he doesn't have the tape to come up. But someone will take him early for that reason. But if you're going to do that, then take Cameron Ward.
Yeah, I agree.
The exact same scenario, and you don't have to cough up a first-round pick for it. You're picking developmental traits, and Cameron Ward has done it at FCS and FBS level now. He's actually got the tape to back up his credentials. So if you're going to do that with Richardson, then be smart. Use a lesser pick on Cameron Ward because he has just as high a ceiling. Floor might be lower, but your risk is a lot less. And you can sit him and develop him till you need him. Jesus.
Oregon now smashing Oregon State 21-10. So
11 points ain't exactly smashing, but we'll get there.
With it being 11:15 here now, and I haven't even started editing because it can't convert until we finish the stream, I think it's probably time for me to finish, otherwise I won't be in bed before midnight.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to spend the rest of my night watching college football.
And having lemon and honey tea, please.
Yeah, well, hopefully this clears soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. It sounds bad.
Well, my headaches have cleared, which is the main thing. I'm not actually in pain at the minute. I'm just coughing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take that. I'll take a cough over crippling headaches.
100%. Yeah. Right. Thanks to everyone for chatting along with us, to Grandizer for supporting us and putting all the good links and shit in the chat. Much appreciated. And for all your incredible knowledge all the way through the show and afterwards as well. Again, well done to Michigan getting to the Big Ten title game, getting to the college football play. I mean, I don't even think they miss out now, even if they lose the Big Ten title game, but I could be completely wrong.
You are.
If Michigan lose the Big Ten title game, do they get into the playoffs? I think they do now, but I just...
well, that depends. If Michigan were to lose theirs and LSU were to win, then that would create some issues. If you've got a one-loss Pac-12 USC champion beating the teams they have, and you have got a two-loss SEC champion, personally, I mean, because in the Big Ten championship game, you're going to be playing maybe Purdue, or I mean, odds are you might play Purdue. They are not ranked highly. USC are probably going to be playing Oregon, or they're probably going to be playing Oregon. SEC, LSU are going to have to knock off Georgia, but then I guess Georgia's spot could be put in jeopardy. But SEC bias and all.
No.
I think Michigan would be in bother.
Okay.
I think they would be in bother, but. Because I just don't trust the committee. They shouldn't be, but this is the committee we're talking about.
Yeah, I just think the way that they regard the Ohio State offense on the committee, like...
Ohio State are dead, but Ohio State will still go down as a quality win for Michigan. But that's like the big quality win of the year. USC can... they've got quite a few on there.
Yeah,
so.
it's going to be interesting. Anyway... Talk more on that soon.
Because TCU have got a spot, and you'll have two SEC teams. They've got one more spot to fill, so...
Yeah.
Hey-ho.
Indeed. Anyway, thanks to the chat for sticking with us all this time. We'll see you next Wednesday for the College Show, Thursday for the main pod. Have a great weekend. Enjoy NFL Sunday. We'll see you next week. Good night.